This is too many windows to take care of. All right, it's not live on Facebook yet, but
yeah. There we go.
Hey, we're live.
Sure. And you're up.
All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Friday 3D Printing Community Hangout. I hope I got that out because that is a mouthful. Right now, it is Xander and I. We are Fun King 3D, and we have Richard from the. You're gonna have to correct me. Zadim. Xander and I both pronounce that wrong all the time. So, Richard, go ahead and.
And I love it because he just sits there and fights through it whenever I comment on his chat. Just give it up. It says Richard.
So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Okay, my name's Richard Murray. I'm the host of the Zadim channel. I focus in on 3D printing and model trains, although a lot of the stuff I've been doing has been working around doing all the stuff before I can actually work on the train. So Zadim channel. You can find me at Zadim17 on Facebook. I don't use that page too much because I'm mostly on 3D printing for model trains. That's me.
All right, sorry, I was moving the chat window around. And as I said, I'm Glenn.
I'm Xander.
And we are Fun King 3D, and we're pretty honored to have been asked to host tonight, being that 2 weeks ago was our first time here with the 3D chat group, which we were excited about that too. We have quite a few people already in the chat. We've got Technology Nerd 18, which is a young man named Ryan. If you haven't checked out his channel, you should check it out. He does live streams quite constantly. I see Robert. Hey, Robert. Bob's here as always. Hello, Bob. For some reason,
Glenn, I'm just seeing that we have a technical issue here. It's not following the active mic. So try clicking this in the middle of your screen just to take the focus away right from your system there. Okay, if you click there and I say hello, I'm not popping up.
You are not.
Okay. There's a way to deal with this. And I don't know if I can do it when I'm not hosting. There is a way to get it to follow the cameras. Continue on talking. We can keep working on this. If we get one of our someone like Matt on, he probably knows it quite well.
Yeah, because I have multiple different windows, but only one of them shows you, which is the main chat window.
Okay.
Well, this isn't much of a community if the people are only looking at me. Well, and Xander.
Yeah. That's interesting. Also on the stream, I'm not seeing any of the extra video windows, so I think we've got a problem there.
Well, that's what we get for having the new guy host, right?
Yeah. Let's see. Search.
All right, if you want to do some digging on that, being that the people are looking at me anyway, I will just ramble on for a few minutes, which is what I'm really good at. So you guys that are tuning in tonight, as you see that down in the description, our topic for tonight is storing files and naming conventions. And for some reason, my camera just went out. I don't know if we're actually still on or not, but I'm going to keep talking. Anybody out there in chat land? Can you guys still hear us? Might have just been a minor hiccup because we're back up. But so this topic came about because now Xander and I haven't been printing for very long, but the files are piling up. And not only STL files, I mean, obviously everybody out there is downloading tons of stuff. The problem is you get the STL files, you have to store those. Then once you slice that file, you have to store and name that. And maybe you have more than one copy, depending on the printer you have. You know, maybe you got one for each printer. So I'm still looking for buttons to get you up here.
Yeah, I'm going through trying to see what we have on some tech support here.
I have you in a browser window, but I also have you in, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe I need to close the browser window. All right, everybody that's watching this, if we dump the feed, we will be right back.
Oh, Matt's here. Matt just signed in, so
all right. I no longer see or hear Richard. I am hoping that you guys out there in YouTube land can hear us.
I think it's working.
Oh, this is terrible. This is terrible. All right, hang in there, everybody. We appreciate your patience on this. I am very computer savvy, but I have not used Google Hangouts until 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, Bob says we're still on.
All right.
Oh.
And Vicky just notified us in chat that it is only showing Xander and I. I'm not that vain.
I can't hear Glenn now. Glenn, are you still there?
All right, I think I'm here, and I can see Matt. Oh, I think we might be okay now.
You can see me?
Yeah, and I can manually click. But all right, I'm gonna shut up. Somebody else talk, and we'll see if it changes.
Okay. The one thing I'm wondering about is it looks like you're doing a regular stream. You're not streaming the actual Hangout, which we've had problems with for way back when. I think I did it in my first stream. So when you started the stream, did you start a live event or the actual Hangout?
Yeah, it was a live event, and it actually, I don't know. I'm gonna try it again.
Hey, Glenn, do you have two different Hangouts open?
I have one in the browser window, and then it opened a second one, which now appears to be gone. No. Yeah, there is a second one. I guess it is in a browser window as well. It was open. YouTube opened that one, and I had to click a green start broadcast button. And I'm afraid if I close that one, because that's what actually fired up the YouTube.
Okay, so that window that you had to hit start broadcast, you should have a person with like a blue plus next to him or something. Do you see that?
No.
Actually, how about top right corner? There should be a person with a plus.
Nope. Top right
screens. You should have on the left hand of your screen. You should have some icons and stuff, and across the very top, you should have some icons. That's the one that's on your YouTube channel right now.
Okay. Yeah.
The other one that you're seeing, us on, only has a person with a plus in the top right corner and like a briefcase with arrows on either side. Do you see that?
Yeah, one of them has a up in the upper right hand corner. It's a person with a plus, the settings button, and then the cheeseburger menu. The other
And
one,
that's the one you can see us on, correct?
that's the one I can see you on.
Okay, so the other one should look kind of different.
Yeah, the other one is a more utility one. It's got like a stop broadcast button down in the bottom.
That's the one that we need to be on. So look on there on the left-hand side, or maybe even on the top. I forget exactly how it looks now. There should be somewhere to add people or invite people to the conversation.
Invite people, yes, sir.
So click on that.
Okay.
That should give you the same link style that you had before.
That looks right. Yep.
Okay, so paste that in the Google Hangouts chat that we have going on. Richard, are you following all that?
Yeah.
There's too many windows. All right, that link is there. So what's happening is you guys are in a chat with me. That's not the one in YouTube.
Yeah, that's a private account that we're in.
But yet it's not private because everybody sees us. We're really sorry, guys. Hang in there. We will be up and running momentarily.
There we go. Hangouts on air, join, and I should be appearing on the stream here in a second.
I see you coming in now.
There we go. All right, Richard. The Google Hangout has the link. If you want to go in there, click on that, and leave the stream that we were on. All right, I got to get rid of all this stuff. Sorry, guys. Apologize to everybody in the chat and on the stream. I am so far behind tonight.
And I'm new, but you're still not popping up, Matt. What do I need to change to get you to pop up?
So down at the bottom, is anybody selected or highlighted with a white box around them?
I am.
You are. Okay. Unclick on click on yours again. That white box will go away.
Okay. I'm getting a video call request from Richard. Let me hop over to Facebook and send him the new. That's how I sent him the last one. So
yeah, he may not be on the Hangout.
Yeah, whatever that link was that Google gave me earlier that we posted wasn't right. And the fun part is this was just watched by all of our followers. If you're going to screw up, you might as well screw up big.
Hey, you can't do it right if you don't screw it up, right?
All right, now the only question I have there it is.
There we go. Now I'm starting to pop up on the stream. Okay. Can everybody in the chat see us?
By the way, that's a lovely background you have there, Matt.
What is my background? I'm literally sitting outside on a deck while it's pouring down raining.
It's pure blackness.
Yeah, that's pretty much what's behind me.
All right, so I'm getting a dinging. Do I have to accept Richard to come in?
No, he's doing something different. He should just pop in. Hang on a second. I'll tell you what, Glenn, if you guys want to go ahead and get started talking, that way everybody in the chat doesn't leave us. I'll work on getting Richard in here.
All right, that sounds good. I mean, we kind of were already. We were kind of prefacing the whole situation and the fact that as you start to download STL files, as you create files, and then you go in and slice those files, they pile up and they pile up and they pile up. Now, we've only been doing this since I mean, Xander and I, only since early June. So just under 2 months since we started this whole 3D printing thing, and I already have a pile of files that are just completely out of control. And now with 2 printers and 2 completely different printers that generally you have to slice differently for, then I end up with 2 copies of every G-code file as well. So the idea tonight is to do a little brainstorming, get people's ideas, and see what the best way to store those files are. And right from the beginning, I'll say that I think it was actually Richard said to me the other day, well, if I'm not going to print it again, I just delete the G-code file. And I thought, oh, that's terrible. Why would you ever delete the G-code file? So I guess I'll go ahead and while we're waiting, I will tell everybody right now how, like, what the solution I came up with, and it is by no means. Hey, there's Richard. It's by no means the best.
There.
I will tell everybody right now the best solution, but it is a solution that so far is by no means by.
Hey, there's Richard.
It's by no means.
Hey, Richard, gotta pause YouTube, or Glenn, one of you guys have YouTube playing?
That was me.
Background.
That was me. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, need to mute.
Yeah.
All right. So what I do is, for example, if I hit Thingiverse and I download a file, like this low poly, what is this? Charmander. Being that I know it came off of Thingiverse, I have a folder under my documents that's called 3D prints. And under that is a folder called Thingiverse. So I then unzip the Thingiverse file, named whatever it is, under that Thingiverse folder, so that I have all the files. I know where it came from. So if I ever have to go back and find it to credit it or whatever, I know that it came from Thingiverse. I also have one that's my own designs. I have one, some stuff that I downloaded from Angus at Maker's Views, that kind of stuff. So, but then that's where my big kick comes in is naming the G-code files. And I'd actually like to hear how you guys name your G-code files before I even begin to try to explain what I'm doing to name mine.
So with G-code files, I've tried a couple of different things. One of the things I try to do that I've seen other YouTubers do is, because I have multiple printers, which as you guys do too, and I'm sure many of the people in the chat do as well. A lot of YouTubers, as I've seen on their videos and stuff, they've been taking, and when they export a G-code file from, say, Simplify 3D or whatever slicer they're using, they name it whatever _ PLA _ say they have a Prusa, they'll say PMKS or something like that, or MK2S or something to designate that printer. I've tried that. Unfortunately, a lot of times my STL, my G-code files end up having a really long name because I'm putting in some specifics like the size of the amount of infill, things like that. Sort of all over the place. I haven't found a good system yet, to be fully honest.
You're actually running right down the path where I am, and I'm looking at the chat, and it's I mean, I can almost hear people screaming at their monitors right now. Don't save G-code. Don't save G-code. That's slice before you print. Why save the G-code? Robert Hupp said, why save the G-code? But
so here's my best part of my organization is each one of my printers minus my Delta has its own SD card. And I'm using 32 gig SD cards on each of my printers. So the TiVo, the Wanhao, and the FlashForge all have their own SD card. That's how I've started just saying, you know what, forget trying to do separate names for each printer. I've just said, okay, this one's SD card. So if the file's on there, well, it must be for the Wanhao. I save them because I do at times go back, like with some of the recent issues that people have had with Simplify 3D, where it's not slicing properly or it doesn't seem to be slicing properly. If you watch like the Facebook group or you watch some of the YouTubers as they've been talking about it, everybody says, well, go back and slice the same file again that you previously sliced with the same settings and everything. If you didn't save that G-code file, it's not going to do you any good to be able to try to reprint side by side or one right after the other with the same filament, same conditions, as close as you can get, unless you save that G-code file.
Now, I look at what information I want for the system, and I make sure I have the date on there, the material it's sliced for, but also the nozzle size, because I swap nozzles on here, so that's another aspect to it. Which nozzle did I slice it for? So, and I have gone back and actually looked at the raw G-code. So it is useful to have in the file. My models on the system are all in their own folder system, so I have the STLs and whatever else I have for that file, all in one folder. So it is easy to go back. Okay, that's the one I sliced 1 month ago, and I had this problem. I'm going to reslice it now and compare the two. So I am all for keeping the G-code. But the other thing is, actually on the SD cards, I'm done with the file. I blow it off the card. It doesn't stay on the card.
I never even thought about the nozzle size because I haven't changed nozzles yet. I've been just the stock 0.4 nozzles, but the way that I started naming my files out of Cura, which Cura, however you pronounce that, puts the name of the printer in the beginning of the file, which annoyed me. So I shortened the name of the printer just to the first letter because mine it's Rocket and Groot, and so all my files are R or G, and then the name of the part, whatever it is, the material. So everything is like the name. The name I do by underscore, and then I go to hyphens. So hyphen PLA, hyphen the brand of filament, AIO, hyphen temperature, or nozzle temperature, hyphen bed temperature, hyphen the diameter that I measured the filament at. So 1.69, 1.71, whatever it comes out to be. And then hyphen normal, which that's the profile that it's using, which is my 0.2 profile dot G code. And see now, Richard, you've mentioned nozzles. So that's another thing. These file names will be, 10 miles long by the time everything gets stored in there.
They do get long, but you're adding, useful information. There are other places you could store the information, but this way it's visual. You see it. We have so much drive space available to us these days that as long as you have a system on your drives, this one, what is it on here? I have a mirrored 4 terabyte drive. So there's, 2 4 terabyte drives in there, and that didn't cost all that much. So there's really no need to blow them away from the hard drives. But yeah, you have the information you need. A great way to start seeing it, I don't see one here, I'll generate one in a moment. Prusa Control, their new system that's a very straightforward slicer. There's very little fiddling around that you actually do with it, but it generates wonderful file names. The only bit of information missing really is the nozzle size, but the rest of it is included in the name. Date, you can take a look and see what the date the file was generated on, but I like putting it right into the name.
That's actually a really good point with the nozzle size. I don't switch nozzles on a regular basis, but my Delta is easily reconfigurable when I do swap nozzles on it. And I only typically ever use the 0.4 or 0.75 millimeter nozzle. And I don't upsize my nozzle all that frequently, although with the prospective purchase of a CR10, sometime in the near future, be times where I'm going to be upsizing the nozzle quite frequently, where I'm going to be swapping back and forth for some of the bigger prints. That's actually a really good point. Something I didn't really think about is naming my files based on the nozzle size.
Well, it depends what sort of things you do with your printer. Now my goal is to be working with the model train stuff. And for that, depending on what I'm doing, if you're working on scenery, you want to use a larger nozzle. But when you're doing person, you need the finer nozzles on there. So that's why you do the swapping. But if you're printing out large parts all the time, you might, rarely ever need to change your nozzle.
Right. Well, I guess the other side of it too, like I understand guys saying about, G-code. I see where you, like Robert, I see where you guys are coming from. Tony, reprints are, if you're going to reprint the same file regularly, and I have a few of those where it worked great. Sometimes I use it for a fallback. Like I know in my head which G-code files on a certain printer worked great. And I'll use that sometimes when I'm having issues with the printer. When it just seems like it doesn't want to print anything, I can fall back to that old G-code that I know darn well worked. And if it doesn't work, then it helps to troubleshoot your printer. But at the same time, I've got probably hundreds of G-code files at this point spread across 4 printers. 90%, you guys are absolutely right. I'll never go back and probably print those again. Like Richard said, it doesn't take up a lot of space. A G-code file really, it's a text file. It's small.
Yeah.
Well, and if you keep it, then it gives you a warm and fuzzy feeling inside. But if you delete it, you might lose sleep at night, because if I delete it, then all of a sudden, like a week later, I'm like, oh, I could have used that. But Robert actually just said in the chat that Kira encodes the settings in comments at the end of the G-code. I'm going to admit right now, I've only looked inside of a G-code file like twice, and I didn't even dig through it to really see what was in there. Shame on me. I'm a little bit curious, and I should have. But if other slicers do that,
we can't put everything in there. We just need the basics. Now, if you want to see what's on there and you don't have it in memory, well, I know Cruise Control can do it. I haven't actually tried with other printers, but you can import G-code and see what it actually came out with. So
I'm going to actually take a second. I'm going to open up a G-code both out of Kira and out of Slicer Prusa edition.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just working on doing. I was going to do a screen share of Simplify. Give us 1 second here, guys. We'll get things configured here to show our screens. Okay, so I have this PLA wallet that Augustin Flowalistic created back in like 2014. I just happened to print one of these out the other day for myself. So if I go into Simplify, this is already set up to be sliced with my Wanhao printer. And then I'm just going to save the G-code to disk, and I'll reopen it then and show you guys what that looks like. Just got to remember where I save it to. Normally I save right out of Simplify 3D right onto the SD card for the printer, so bear with me for a second.
Hey Matt, looking in the 2 G-code files that I have here, I have one out of Kira, and at the very bottom, after the line that says end of G-code, there are about, I don't know, 8 or 10 lines that says, global quality, the name, the thickness and stuff, but it's kind of jumbled. It would take me a few minutes looking at this to figure out what it means. At the end of the one out of Slicer Prusa edition, there is lines. I mean, fill density, fill pattern, gap fill speed. Everything is listed out in as plain English as 3D printing can possibly be. So that's pretty
Right.
awesome. Thanks for ruining it for us, Robert.
I think part of it is how much information you need quickly. Like the information I put into the name is the stuff I'm looking for when I'm going into a folder and said, yeah, I need to do that one again. Which one did I do? Which is the one I preferred? I can see that in the name. And then, yes, the brim and everything else, that will come out when I'm actually doing the print. I'll know that, yes, that was a successful print. Whatever I had for supports or what have you, that's the one I wanted. But I think the bigger issue isn't just the G-codes, it's the whole files. But go ahead.
I was going to say, here's a G-code file from Simplify 3D, if you guys can see this. So Simplify does actually a really good job of throwing every single setting right at the very beginning of the G-code file. I mean, every possible parameter is right here. Glenn, you were saying about one of the two slicers, either Cura or Slicer Prusa Edition, just kind of like jumbles it all up at the end. Simplify 3D lays it out line by line. And I mean, it's clean as can be. You almost couldn't ask for this to be any nicer. So if you really wanted to know, what size nozzle did I configure that G-code file for, or what percentage of infill, even though I don't have it in the file name, it might take you some time to pull it back off the SD card and check it. But I mean, it's literally all right there. And then here's the end of it. Here's the beginning of my G-code right here with the G90 for my lawn howl.
Yeah, Cura is the one that had it jumbled, and Slicer Prusa Edition, which I have to assume regular Slicer would do the same thing, puts it nice and neat at the end of the G-code file. So, I mean, I guess that's, I mean, if you associate your G-code files with I use Notepad++ as my text editor, so if you associate it with a text editor, you could pull it up in mere seconds to see, because there's not a lot of stuff that I go back and reprint a second time or multiple times, but there are certain things that I've sliced out. My Raspberry Pi case that I designed, the print turned out so good on that I wouldn't want to have to try to reslice it. Like, I just want to leave it, so that I would save. But I'm the kind of guy, I have every email that I've ever received since 2000, and maybe even a little bit before that. And now I'm not talking about spams. I'm talking about regular emails, things that weren't worth deleting, which is ridiculous because I'll never have to go back and look at that. But I'm just a collector.
Well, I'm the same way. I go back into the 90s for my emails, but pretty much since I started receiving emails, I have almost all of them. So the biggest area isn't just the G-code, it's the file management of the models themselves within my folder system for 3D printing. As I look, the G-code's the final result, but it's dealing with the models, whether you're dealing with CAD files, what have you, but starting with the source, then working your way down. It's even more complicated now since I'm using Agisoft. So I may have 50 photographs that were used to start the model within Agisoft, and then I have the Agisoft files that take me to the STL. The STL takes me to the G-code, and then we can actually print. So it's managing that whole big picture of data that's sitting there. Go back to the fact that, yeah, we have terabytes today. So we tend to keep a lot of stuff that maybe should be pitched. But on the other hand, yeah, I printed one of those 2 years ago. What was it? Where's the file? Having to go find that.
Oh, it's before I got into 3D printing. I mean, file management. You want to talk about something that's a mess? 3D printing. I still do photography on the side. Because of that exact reason, that storage is relatively cheap and is getting cheaper every day. I literally import every single picture I take on my camera, on my DSLR, every video that I do with the GoPros, whatever, off my cell phone, everything. Computer, whether it's using Lightroom from Adobe for the photos or heck, I even use Lightroom for my video and stuff. I have terabytes. I have a 2 terabyte hard drive that's almost full of just pictures. That if I went and deleted all the junk ones, that like they're junk, they're blurry. I mean, there's no possible reason to keep them. I probably would be lucky to have 100 gigs worth of usable photos. Sort of the same holds true with G-code. I've got G-code files that just didn't work. It's quicker for me to either overwrite it or just rename it to something else and keep going. Like Vicky said in the chat, she said she used to use an Excel spreadsheet with all her temperatures, nozzle sizes, and all the settings that she changed as she was experimenting and as she was learning. But now she said she knows her machines better and that practice has gotten a little lackluster. I have to agree 100% with Vicky on that. Once you start to know your printers, you start to get confident. Yeah, there is no reason to keep a G-code file because you'll just throw settings at it and chances are it's going to stick. If you print as much as most of us do, you know your printers well enough to just throw some settings together, slice a file, and off you go. But at the same time, there are things like I have the spinners. When I was selling those, I went back and I reprinted those quite a few times off that one slice. And then I had the ones where I had embedded nuts versus non-embedded, and I just labeled the file that way. And Robert, I do back up. All my files are backed up.
Now, I'm going to throw in a cautionary tale with the backups. When I came out here, I was running off the laptop. And I had a backup drive, Western Digital system. I forget what they called it, cloud or something like that. But anyways, the Western Digital system was my backup. The laptop died, burned out. I'm blaming silt from the flood. Just the buildup of silt dust just covered everything and turned into cement. But anyways, so the laptop died. I have my backup system there. Go to a new computer. Started using things. I didn't back up my backup back to the new drive. I had a bunch of photos and other things in the backup drive. That backup drive is sitting in a pile over there because it died on me. So it wasn't mirrored or anything else. So what I have now is my drive on the computer is mirrored. My backup drive beside me, another couple of terabytes, it's mirrored. So if you ever do anything like that, don't forget to back up your backup. We do go through a computer.
Yeah.
So I don't know what I lost, but it's gone.
What got me serious about my backups is back when my wife and I were engaged, getting ready for our wedding. I had a hard drive that had all my pictures on it. I had a picture of the farm that my dad grew up on, an aerial shot of it from 1956. I think it was 1956. Because there was a note for a building that was built in 1956 that wasn't actually in that picture. I took this aerial photo of the farm my dad grew up on that was black and white and colorized the entire thing by hand in Photoshop. Every single color, every single object in it had its own layer in Photoshop. And I did this. I gave out the JPEG of it to all my family, and I kept the original Photoshop file. The hard drive that had that and every picture of my wife and I for 3 years prior to us getting married for the wedding, that hard drive took a crap on me and I lost all of it. Ever since then, that very next day, I ended up getting carbonite. I have my local backups that I do kind of like you did, Richard, where you have rotating hard drives or mirrored hard drives. But what I'll do then is I take my rated hard drive out, one of them out, and it goes into the safe. I take the other one out, and after I have a redundant backup, and that one goes to my in-laws in their safe. That way I have local off-site backup, but then I have carbonite to back everything else up as well.
Yeah. The one thing Robert talks about here in chat is he has a backup that's in a safety deposit box. Just another warning sign here. In High River, our banks flooded in the big flood. And it turns out safety deposit boxes are not, and those vaults are not waterproof. So people went
Right.
to get out of their safety deposit box to find out that it was still sitting in water 2 months after the flood. And that's when they finally can get in there. So that's just a side note. It is a good practice. You know, my background is emergency management. You should have your important papers, you know, your insurance information, your wills, everything else backed up in a different community. If something happens to your home or your community, at least a relative, you know, preferably in a different province or state, has a copy of that stuff. But don't have your backup that's in the bank that's 2 blocks from your house, because a tornado goes through or something, you could lose both. So move it out to a different area.
Yep.
I've been in the computer industry since the early 90s. And I mean, I've worked for small companies, large companies, myself, whatever. And you cannot preach enough to people to back up their data. And with that now out there in public, I don't have a backup. There's a few things on my machine that I do back up. I work from home. I use my own computer, so I back up my work. But for the most part, none of my stuff's backed up. And I've lost. I lost a primary hard drive a few years back that had stuff that I wrote, you know, software that I wrote that I spent a lot of time on, stuff that could never be replaced. And unfortunately, I just bit it and moved on. But they need to bring back tape drives.
Well, when I started with computers, it was the summer of 1980. It was a trash 80, and the way we dealt with data was it was on a audio cassette. You used an audio cassette player that you plugged into your TRS-80. That's how you move the data back and forth. And they talked about backups doing that. And what you do is copy it onto the trash 80, flip out that cassette, put a new cassette in, and right back to the new cassette. And that's how you backed up your data. So
I had a cassette drive on my Commodore. I know right where you're coming from.
So yeah, you know, there's, as I say, there's 2 types of data. There's backup data and lost data. So, you know, that's the side to file management. But you know, with the file, something, you know, it's when you get in with the models, how many times you save it. And some of the things that are confusing is, for example, working within Fusion 360, because your models are not, the way I understand it, the models are not on your system. They're out in the Fusion cloud. Now, there's an option to download the file to your system, but that's where they reside, out in the cloud. So being the type that likes to have that cassette sitting there in my hands, I'm still terrified of the cloud. So it's a different world having stuff out there. Yeah, when Skynet takes over, no more data. So yeah, I don't know how the other 3D packages, well, like if you're working on your system there, Glenn, obviously that's right on your system, because that's the way that one works. I forget the name of it, sorry. But
Rhino 3D, and yeah, it is all local. I know Tinkercad stores online as well, but yeah, using Rhino, it's all local files.
I had just the other day with Fusion, I spent here recently, the reason I haven't been as active in the community is I've been working minimum 10-hour days and stuff at work. And then I'm coming home and trying to do the stuff that my wife and I are doing for our Etsy shop and some local side business and everything. So I've been sitting up. Typically, I'll get home from work about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night and get on the computer right away and start modeling in Fusion. I was working on our project, our current project that we're going to be releasing here soon, and had about 15 of the items done. And for some reason, the next day I went into it and it showed version, I think it was version 7 of the file or something. It showed the last time that I had edited it that night. I saved it, everything, went to load it, and it wouldn't load that file anymore. It would only load back to version 6, which meant I had to redo all 15 of those items from the night before again. I still have yet to catch back up because I just haven't had the time. What do you guys do? So for your local models, for your models versus things you download. Instead of G-code files themselves, how about the STLs or the step files or whatever type of model file? What do you guys do to organize those locally on your computer?
Well, that's what I was mentioning about, the bigger picture. You have to deal with the file system. And with that, I just have, master directory of projects go in there. And if it's train related, then trains, and then cascades down to whether it's trees, horses, what have you. And the big thing about that is when you get in there, all the different versions. Is, you mentioned that I'm working with rigged horses. So you have to track down your rigs, how you move the horse's neck, what have you. That is actually my notes for that. I use OneNote. OneNote's quite handy for keeping my track of the information. And within OneNote, I can go right back to the file. That way I can track down what did I do there. I had my own notes following along with the file.
Glenn, what do you do for stuff you guys model as far as what you model and what you download from online as far as organization goes?
Well, I have one main folder under my documents that is 3D printing files. I can't think of what I actually named it, but something along that line. And then underneath that, I have a folder that's called FD3D, FK3D, which is everything that was designed by me. Xander's are all still on Tinkercad. Oh no, that's not true. You want to show him what you designed? Just a quick side. He's been dying to. Richard called him out and last time and told him that he needed to start designing things. So he actually sat down in Tinkercad and designed that, and we printed it. So he finally did it. He's
nice.
got a tangible product.
Way to go, Xander.
Pretty cool. So
can you hold it up a little bit closer to the camera, Xander?
He's got short arms, and the camera's really far away.
Nice.
So
is that like an open frame out to the outriggers on it?
Yeah, it's
sorry. Cool.
You have to stop talking, or you take over the screen. So yeah, he did that all in Tinkercad, printed without no supports needed on that. Worked out well. He was pretty proud of that. So, but all of that kind of stuff and all the stuff that I designed goes in under the FK3D folder, and then it's named whatever. And then I have a folder, a Thingiverse folder, which is everything that I download off of where else Thingiverse. I have a Maker Muse folder, so any of the stuff that I download that's Angus's goes in under that, so that I can always reference back if I need that. Like if it gets corrupted, I can go get it again. Or if I need to, if I mention it in a YouTube video, I always put credit for it down in the description. Well, this allows me to go in and find it quick. I mean, not that like Thingiverse's search isn't quick, but it's a lot easier than trying to figure out, like, did it come from GrabCAD or did it come from, that kind of thing. And then everything just filters in from there. It seems crazy to store the STLs that you can just go and re-download off of Thingiverse, but my fear is that like at some point you're going to download something you like and somebody's going to end up taking their design down and then it'll be gone forever. So I would rather, I'm a collector.
I can't disagree with that at all. I have everything. My organization sort of sucks. Anything that I download that is not my model goes in my standard Windows download folder. If I model it myself, then in my documents folder, I have my 3D prints file folder. Things that go along with my wife and my Etsy shop is all in the Flinchball Designs folder. Any customized things I do for people, anything I do for sale goes in that folder. Anything I do for myself then just goes in the root of the 3D print folder. If it's a big project, multiple parts, then it gets its own folder. That's basically my system.
Totally off topic.
Sorry, Rick.
I just opened a box here. E3D, that you get your Habero candies. They're all melted. It's just one big bag of goo.
I'll let you know a secret. They'll still taste good.
Throw them in the fridge first.
You got to 3D print yourself a mold to pour them into.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Touching on the download folder, Matt. Everything that I download off of Thingiverse or wherever, that's the first place it goes. I mean, it automatically goes to the download folder. Then I usually open it by the Chrome bar and unzip it into my Thingiverse folder. So it is technically still in my download folder as well. And it'll stockpile there.
Both places. Yep.
Yeah, part of my file management, I try to get everything out of the download folders as soon as I can, but because it gets messy as you're going through. But also, I've only been on this workstation for a month now, so it's still, is it on the workstation? Is it on the other drive? The other computer, for some reason, isn't sharing to this computer properly. From the other computer, I can see this drive okay, but not the other way around right now. But we'll get there. Sort of which download folder, which project file is it in, and then because there is work I do with the files on the other computer. So you have to think more about the file management when you're doing that.
Robert said in the chat, Glenn, you mentioned about you save everything you download because you never know if you're going to not be able to download it again. That's basically what Robert was saying in the chat. If you don't save the STL, that original STL step file, whatever form you downloaded it in, is completely out of your control. And we've seen plenty of times where pulled their items because they're not happy with somebody selling the STL file on Etsy as if it was their own, not giving credit, or selling. Some people aren't happy with people making a print, finishing it themselves, and then selling the end product, things like that. So we've seen it plenty of times in the community where people have yanked their design, and some of them go behind a paywall. Others, you just never see their file again.
Yeah, and with as small as the files are, it doesn't really hurt to keep them, mainly if it's something that you think you're going to use again. I mean, there's stuff that I've downloaded that I'm sure I'll never print again, and those could be deleted. And, I'll get around deleting them one day. But no, for the most part, I like to save it because I might have to go back, or the original author of that file may make a change to suit their need that doesn't suit your need when the original file suited you fine. So, no,
I think I'll clean up my files same way you will. After we clean up our email from 2000, then we can look at those files.
I will say, and I won't get into detail because it involved the court system, but there was one time that I did have to go back and dig up old emails from 2002, and I had them. I
have every single email ever sent to my first Gmail account. Every single one of them. I've never deleted a single one.
Yeah, but Google's storing those for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm not storing them on my own.
Now, our file's actually stored on the system. No, it's the other thing is going through versions and iterations and finding out, okay, what is the slice that's going to work here? And that's where sometimes I get confused as to what I have done because, okay, I slice it one way, go to do the print if I have a problem, then go back and may tweak one change on the system, and then resave it. But I always want to make sure that I've deleted things off the SD card before I resave it. But I have run into occasions where I went, okay, I'll slice A, B, C. Turned out B was the best, and I deleted it. And so, it would have been handy to know. And it's simply 3D, changing your process. Do you save your processes afterwards? I never done that, which is bad work procedure, workflow on my part. But so if I've sliced it 3 times and the one I'm happiest is the middle, I have to figure out what did I do for that one. That's where I get into problems.
Well, it's also nice to go back and reference your G-code if you're trying to slice something and it's not coming out the quality that you want, but yet you know, and you say to yourself, oh, you know, I printed a Benchy on this thing 6 months ago and it was perfect. You can go back and look at that G-code to see what you did, to see what you monkeyed with over the next 6 months that ends up causing you grief here where stuff isn't turning out as good. So
I'll tell you,
there's a reason to keep it.
there is one thing that I do in respect to that, as far as like if I have a profile with Simplify 3D specifically, if I do have a profile that I absolutely just it printed phenomenally, I will then take and save that out as a completely separate configuration for that printer. That way, and then I'll never edit that file again. I may open it and save a new copy and then tweak something, but I'll never change that file itself again, because it gives me a good reference point, like you said. As far as I change so many settings now, and there's times where I've printed stuff where I'm like, this should have printed. Why didn't it? Then I go back and realize, oh, I forgot. I was at 100 millimeters per second that I was printing, and I should have been down around 60 for this print. Stuff like that. Like some of that's easy to find, but when you're getting in, you're changing now with some of these new settings in Simplify 3D, like the interface layers and stuff between supports, and you're editing that stuff, it can really change. Tony Ryan had a good point. I wonder how many of us fall into this category. How many of you guys have downloaded files off Thingiverse or downloaded offline and never actually printed the file?
Well, you know, again, I've only had my printer for 2 months, so I'm going to get around to those ones. I'll print them eventually. I started downloading them before I realized that you could save them on Thingiverse, like where you could favorite them. I didn't realize you could do that in the beginning, so I was downloading everything I ever thought I might want to print. So yeah, I have a few of those.
Well, with the slicer settings you mentioned about, what did we do in that? I have 4 new boxes of this Form Futura filament, and this is all wood fills. And one of the reasons, this is out of the Netherlands, one of the reasons I like it is they have incredible data sheets for it. But depending on what color you want the wood, you change your nozzle temperature. For lighter color, you're using a lower nozzle temperature. So they show actually on their site the results from different nozzle temperatures. So you can print the exact same model, but okay, I want that one to be a little bit darker, so I'm going to push the nozzle temperature up some. So that's where you could have the exact same model, and all you're tweaking is one setting, your nozzle temp. So it's all the information you have to hang on to, and it does become an issue. I love that.
So what you're saying is now we also have to put the color in the name of the G-code file.
This one's light, this one's dark, this one's medium.
And that's exactly what they talk about. And somewhere else I read about someone using in Simplify 3D, just going in and creating different processes. The only thing it changes is that nozzle temperature. So as you're printing, and this will become even better with the new Simplify 3D 4.0, the transition between process 1 and process 2, and that would give a nice color change. So you got different banding on there for your wood prints. So that's something I'm looking forward to trying out.
Well, being that we're talking about organization, and now Richard, you've brought filament into it, you can kind of see this is my filament collection. So how do you guys organize your filament? How do you store your filament?
I look at that.
Currently,
200 kilograms of filament or something in his place.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm starting to push the amount of filament that he's got too, as far as spools sitting around of different types of material. But currently, I've got probably 50% of my filament in a 32-gallon plastic tub in the back of my Explorer that's sitting right over there because I'm camping and I brought the Wanhao along with me.
You brought your friend camping. That's awesome.
This is the third time this year that I've gone camping and it's rained. They've called for rain. So I dragged the printer along because I figured, well, I'm going to be sitting in the camper a lot.
We got to get you out here. You can camp here because we haven't had rain in ages. And we're burning. So that's why my candy's melted. We're going up to 37 Celsius the next couple of days. So, well, it was, according to my car, that was the temperature today. But
37 Celsius is in the 80s, right? 80 degrees, 80 some odd.
There, I can't tell you off the top of my head.
Yeah, because yesterday here it was 94 degrees.
Okay.
37 is 98, that's about where we've been here the last couple of days as well, except for today and yesterday with the rain. But so
tons of filament, and then we've talked about it on almost every stream last time. We all have large collections of maker box filaments.
Yeah, but the maker box is easy to store. I just leave it in the maker box.
I try that, but my wife seems to get rid of my maker boxes.
No, it's all this stuff on the spool that I have problems with, and what I'm doing is like, I mean, you can see I got filament on both printers, but and you know, humidity is not great in Florida, so I probably shouldn't leave it out as long as I do, but otherwise it goes back into either a Ziploc bag or the resealable bag that comes with it. I through human power suck the air out of the bag and seal it up and put it back in the box, but it's a pain and it's not easy to store. So I was hoping somebody had a better solution.
Honestly, I don't go through any of that with mine. So my printers 99% of the time are in my basement, in my office, which I know you guys don't have basements and stuff, so it's a little, you may not know it, but with a basement, humidity, typically this time of year, humidity is really high in the basement. I run a dehumidifier in my office, but it keeit at like, I don't know, 60 or 70% humidity, which is still pretty damn high. That's it. I had pipes that now I've got my floor joists are exposed overhead. So I ran 2x4s, screwed them to it, cut out notches for pieces of aluminum piping. And I just have these big, long spool holders overhead. When I want to use a spool filament, I just reach up, grab that one, feed it down into one of the 4 printers, and that's it. I actually, most of the time, don't even use the spool holder on the printer. But even being in that 70% humidity affect my print quality at all. I wouldn't say enough. Now, to some extent, that's because I don't keep spools of filament long enough, I guess. But at the same time, too, with some of these exotics and stuff and having them, if the humidity was that big of an issue for them, I should see it, and I'm not. I have had 1 or 2 that I had for like a year that got extremely brittle. I mean, like the PLA, you'd go to straighten it to stick it in the hot end or stick it in the extruder, and it would snap on you really quick. It got real brittle. But really, I haven't had any major problems with mine.
Yeah, it's just kind of weird because, I mean, you hear people talking about it, and you hear a lot of people on Facebook. Somebody will say, "Oh, you know, my print's doing this," and immediately people jump to, "Oh, it's, you know, it's moisture. It's moisture. You got to dry your stuff out." And Joe Mike.
Hey guys, can you hear me? Okay.
Hey, Joe Mike. Yep, we can hear you. Good.
Yeah.
Great.
Joe Mike, it is absolutely a pleasure to quote unquote meet you, sir. I watch your videos. I enjoy your videos. And it's cool to have you here with us tonight.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for hosting. It's been a while since I've had an opportunity to hop on to one of these.
You've been busy with the whole new move and all that stuff, ain't?
Well, I think the last time that I seen you in one of these, you were in the bathtub, actually.
We all needed a break after
that.
We had to give them a time.
I was like, how do I top that? I don't. That's how.
I don't think anybody wants to see you try and top that. Can we just leave it right at that and just not take it any further?
Yeah, no, I think
What
I
the
think that'll
filaments-
be my legacy, and I'm done.
With the filament that I just got, all the exotics here, they actually sent Ziploc bags with the silica gel inside. So it's ready to go for the storage, but you still end up, the shelf that's behind me where I just put that, that's supposed to be bench work for more of my training. So right now it's very heavy filament storage, so I may have to rework that. I just moved my printer into this room today, so I'm settling it in here.
Well, I find that regular, gallon-sized Ziploc bags will fit most spools. In fact, I think the only spool I have that does not fit in one of those is the one that came from Prusa with my printer. It's I don't know, it's just fat for some reason and won't fit in a bag. So it's the only one that it's in a box, but it's not bagged up. In case you weren't paying attention, Joey, we're now talking about filament storage and how everybody stores their filament rolls.
Oh, is that what we're talking about?
That and file management, if you want to give your 2 cents on how you do your file management as well.
As far as like my STLs and everything.
Yeah, we talked about G-code, like what we do to like naming conventions and stuff like that. As far as, do you keep your G-code files, and if you do, how do you try to differentiate them so that you know later what you're going to get for that? And then also, as far as like STLs, step files, all the 3D models themselves, how you go about organizing them on the computer. Like my example was basically if I download it, it goes in the downloads folder. If I create it, it goes in my 3D prints folder and my documents folder in quite a bit better of an organizational structure than my downloads folder.
Yeah. Well, I guess as far as file management goes, I'm very, old school. I'm a, system admin by trade, my day job. So with that comes a certain, I guess, old school mentality of how to name files, and especially when it comes to versioning. So when I do 3D modeling on my own, like through SketchUp or Fusion, I tend to give them version numbers and revision numbers instead of any other way as far as naming. And then once I'm settled on a specific design, I put a final, so an underscore final or underscore F at the end of it to let me know that that is a final version of it. If I go back and edit it, then I start in with the V2 and continue on from there. As far as like my G-code files and other things like that, I tend to use more folder management than I do actual file naming conventions. So I have Dropbox Pro. I've got a terabyte to play with there, and I just use my directory like crazy. So, when it comes to slices for the Prusa at specific layer heights, when it comes to slices on like the FT5 or on the Cossel at specific layer heights for specific materials, I tend to just create a folder and start sending things to those. I guess that's the way I handle that.
That all of us need.
But it didn't come naturally. I mean, it was years and years of having to discipline myself, because I would have one folder full of tons and tons of files when it came down to, like, let's say PowerShell scripts. You can try naming a PowerShell script this really long descriptive name of exactly what it does. At the end of the day, you end up opening it back up and going, oh, that's what it does. When instead I can, delimitate in folders and figure that out. So it's just easier management in the long run, I think. At least that's my opinion.
Yeah, see, and if I could get this whole 3D printing files worked out, it would help me with my job files as well. Or maybe if I get my job files worked out, that would help me in one or the other. But I just have a really hard time. I hate having, directory, of all these files and having to go out and back in like I kind of like everything together. But then it gets so jumbled you forget what's even in there anymore.
Yeah.
That's where I think something like Google has kind of hurt us a little bit, because like I've gotten so used to relying on the fact that, I can go into my downloads folder and then search from there for just a keyword of something to find my file, as opposed to looking in some kind of structure. Like I've gotten really bad with all the things that Google has given us into doing that, where I search for it. I remember a keyword of it and search for that, and that's how I find the file.
Yeah. Now, I will say in the early days of 3D printing, before I started applying like my regular discipline to it, I used to underscore the ever living snot out of G-code files. So I would basically give the STL file, underscore what printer it went to, underscore layer height, underscore material. And that was kind of like my naming convention for a long time for a G-code file. That way, when I had it up in Octoprint, I could take a look and say, okay, well, that is for ABS, and that's for PLA. This is a higher resolution than this one. And even if I did some weird things, like if I put pauses in a G-code, then I would put like a WP, so with pause and stuff like that. And I still do that to some extent, but I still keep them in folders as well to keep mainly printer G-code separated.
And that works really well with using like Octoprint and stuff, because you can see almost the full file name. Whereas like the FlashForge Wanhao, I think most of the printers, when you're using it on screen, like you said, you can underscore the living crap out of something, but you can't read most of that on your printer if you're just reading right off the SD card.
Well, unless you want to wait for it to scroll. Well, that's only
none of mine have that feature.
Yeah. And you guys were talking about filament storage?
Yeah, that was the other thing, is how do you store your filament?
Yeah, because
sorry, Glenn.
As you can see here, this is how I store my filament. I just put them, back in a bag and back in their original box, and then they just sit around.
We're going to travel for a sec, and I'll show you. Through the house. My wife is actually out of town right now, so this is a good time for this. The makerspace is a mess still. I apologize. So kind of along the same lines, can you guys see that? Okay. So
yeah, it looks like you store yours a lot like mine, except for you have a fancy shelf.
Hey man, IKEA. So, I mean, while I'm down here, I might as well show you. So I invest heavily through Amazon, because I love me some Amazon. So I get these things. It's 100 count of like super big 2-gallon freezer bags, right?
Nice.
And they can hold up to 2 rolls per bag if I want them to. Most of the time, and then I buy these in bulk. These are the dry silica packets. I literally buy a box of these. Each one has 20 packs. I think I buy them 100 at a time. Depending on what filament I'm storing, depends on how many of those little packages I throw into the bag along with the filament. Like, I'm not a huge moisture Nazi, even though it seems like I am. Okay, maybe I am a little bit.
Oh, that'd make a great shirt.
How thick are those bags?
Just a little bit. Like, nylons, for example, like Tolman's filaments, and flexible filaments, and filaments that are just really sensitive to moisture, I have no hesitation throwing like 4 of those silica packs in there, and just, that's for that, So I've got like 4 in my Tolman bridge, and the 910 the alloy, and all that other Tolman, and then all the other nylons. And even in my PETG, I throw at least two packs in with the PETG rolls. So
Now, do you regenerate your silica gel?
anymore it's so cheap that if you maintain control and make sure the bags are sealed and as much air gets out of the bag as you can before you seal it, the silica lasts for a long time. In fact, I've got these little cards, the humidity indicator cards, and just out of curiosity, I started throwing them in with the bags and checking them to see how well the silica maintained the level inside these bags. And after a while, I just was like, I'm perfectly fine with this. It's perfectly, it did everything I could have asked for and more, so I don't worry about it anymore. Those silica packs will last for, I would guess, a year or more if I didn't even open the bag. So
I was curious. I don't use them, but I keep every single silica packet that comes in, like the maker boxes or pack of filament that I get or whatever. I always keep the silica gel. I have a drawer full of the packets. I just figure, well, if I ever do decide to like double down and start actually storing my filaments like they're supposed to be, I have plenty of a stock of them. But I always just figured, I'll throw a tray of them in the oven and let them dry out for a while and then start using them. So I was kind of curious. I never really paid attention to how long are they actually good for.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you don't want to buy the silica packets pre-made, or for some reason if you need a large silica packet, so if you've got like a storage bin and you just put rolls in there that aren't sealed in anything other than the bin, what I did in the past was I would take socks and I would go up to the pet store and buy that crystal cat litter, which is pretty much just straight silica. I pour that in the sock and then tie the sock, throw a couple of socks in that bin, and that worked just as well.
That's a good idea.
The whole world revolves around kitty litter. Mark my words.
So you put them in 2-gallon Ziploc bags. You throw in a couple of silica packets, and you have a humidity card in there. No, you're not a moisture Nazi.
Hey, I don't put the humidity card in there anymore. I mean, okay, so my nylons do have a humidity card in them, but they're nylons, so give me that.
Granted.
I just wanted to bust on you a little bit.
No, I'm totally a humidity Nazi. The first time I ever heard, the proverbial, not really proverbial, it was quite literal, the pop hiss of moist filament, and watched it completely ruin a print, I was totally a moisture Nazi after that. Whatever I could do to remove humidity, I was on it.
You've printed with weed whacker filament, haven't you, Mike? Mike?
Do what?
I said you printed with weed whacker filament. You tried that, didn't you?
Yep, I printed, well, weed whacker line. I don't know if I'd call it filament.
Weed whacker trimmer line. So you've heard the pop and hiss from that.
Well, actually, yeah, the first time I printed with that, it popped and hissed like crazy. But I already knew, this is nylon, so it's got moisture in it. I threw the crap in the oven and then put it in a bag with a giant silica package and left it in there for a week, at least a week, and then printed with it again. It took all the moisture out of the nylon line. And, one of the neatest prints that I ever printed was with that whacker line, because it was clear with this green stripe going through it, and it made this weird marbly green translucent print, and it was kind of cool. So, but it's a pain in the butt to print with.
Yeah,
so inconsistent.
It results in some really neat prints there, doesn't it?
Yeah, just don't print anything that requires really tight filament tolerances, because number one, it's not 1.75 strictly to speak anyway, and number two, it varies along the line like crazy.
Yeah.
Number three, it's not really round, at least not the stuff I shoved through. It had little ridges on it, the cutting ridges.
Oh, you actually used that. You actually used that kind. When I did it, I used just the round stuff. I mean, you would have really not known that any different from a roll of filament, other than like you said, if you take calipers and run it down the length of it, yeah, you're not at a plus or minus 0.03 millimeter tolerance on that. But you actually used the stuff that wasn't around it.
It was in the garage. I threw my calipers on it, saw that it would go through the hot end, and I was like, here we go.
That's pretty much how mine went.
Oh.
An alternate to kitty litter here. This, I think it came from Lee Valley. This is silica gel in bulk, and I think this was $15 or something like that for it. And I throw that into pill holders, and I've drilled a whole bunch of holes into it. So that'll, take care of any of your large packages, as it didn't cost all that much. Nice and handy to have around.
Hey guys, so I jumped on like in the middle of the conversation. You guys see me and hear me okay? I'm totally new here.
Coming through good.
Welcome to the show. Introduce yourself.
Hey,
Yeah, introduce yourself.
it's good. Thanks for the invite, Matt. I appreciate it. It's good to be out here.
Yep, not a problem.
Awesome. Hey, so I had a question. So outside of nylons and stuff, you guys finding any other filaments you're finding that you feel are particularly moisture sensitive?
PETG before printing, but not after printing. ABS before and after. PLA, for me, I haven't really had any issues with popping PLA, but other people swear that PLA pops like crazy. So
yeah, that's basically what I was saying.
I've seen so much variance from PLA to PLA. I've tried a lot of different stuff, and I have stuff that's just been sitting out in the open for a year that just runs great continuously, and I've had stuff that just goes brittle like within a month. I think it fully depends on who the manufacturer is and what they're doing with it.
I've had, like Joe Mike said, with PLA, I do nothing special with my PLA. I leave it open. I open it up and it stays open until the spool's empty so far, other than occasionally being thrown in a storage bin. Because I've started to get too much that my racks overhead that I built don't hold everything I have. Nylon, again, I actually don't repackage that. I let it open. And it's in the basement and all that. I actually haven't had too many problems with it. Now that's
Really?
just using inland. I have a lot of experience with nylon, but so far I've really only used my nylon to print parts for sporting clay automatic traps. So it's parts that are actually under tension, under friction, and they're holding up better than the Delrin parts that came on the traps.
Do you wonder if they do that much better if you dry? I think I'm a little bit of a moisture Nazi when it comes to at least nylons and stuff. I'm not.
I guess I'm just too lazy.
Fair enough.
Yeah, actually, I mean, you're probably right. They probably would do a lot better if I was a little bit more moisture conscious with it, or threw it in the oven and dried it out ahead of time.
And I think it depends on the make. I mean, there's so many different like makeups of nylon and stuff, that I find like I run a lot of 910 for high strength stuff, the Talman alloy stuff, and that seems to be okay, sitting out a little bit better than maybe bridge or just more generic. Was it 645? Anyway, I love me some nylon though.
yeah, nylon's fun if you can get the setup to print it. I had nightmares with it until I enclosed my printer. Especially if you have a cheaper kit and you can't get your bed up really hot, it can be a nightmare. But like on the FT5, I've actually got my FT5 where I can set it inside of this greenhouse thing that I got off Amazon. It's like a fabric greenhouse. and I just put the FT5 in there, and then I just seal it up when I'm printing nylon and ABS now. And it's got a little fold-down window, and it's got the silicone bed on it, so I can get that bed up to like 130, 140 if I want to. So I actually put in the G-code to have it preheat the bed up to about 140 to preheat the enclosure, and then I drop the temp back down to about 110, 100, and then have it do the printing. That way I don't have to add in a secondary space heater. The latent heat just kind of stays in that greenhouse thingy.
I like that. It's a nice idea.
Yeah.
And you said when you're drying your stuff ahead of time, you're throwing it in the oven. Like you can get your oven down like low enough where you're not like melting the spool it's on and whatnot.
Oh yeah. If you think about it, like in America, our ovens are in Fahrenheit. So if you do the conversion between Fahrenheit and centigrade or Celsius, our ovens really don't get too hot compared to what our hot ends get. So the lowest temp on your oven may not even be hot enough to do much. You kind of have to crank it up a little bit to start drying things out. And the spools that most of these filaments come on are injection molded and have no problem in the oven, especially at lower temps. So there's lots of different schools of thought when it comes to drying out filament. Lots of different instructables out there on how to dry it in the oven, how to convert a food dehydrator into a dryer, and all kinds of things that you could do to dry out filament. I just smack them in the oven, and depending on the filament, take a look at glass transition temp, come in below that, and just dry it out. Make sure it's not becoming malleable during its process in there.
Yeah, if you
Anybody tried
figure,
You're up.
all right. Like Jeremiah was saying, as far as throwing it in the oven and stuff, a lot of people recommend throwing it in the oven at 150 degrees Fahrenheit, which is only what 65 and a half degrees Celsius. Oh, in most cases, well below glass transition temp. At least 150 is the lowest my oven will go. Some I'm sure will probably go a little bit lower. Maybe if you have a toaster oven or something like that, you could probably go a little bit lower on it too. So you don't have to. I wouldn't get the filament out and touch it right away or anything, just in case you are like borderline glass transition temperature. But I don't think it's low. Just the filament to itself.
Has anybody tried that 5-gallon bucket with the light bulb trick? You see a bunch of those things online, people talking about that. I've been curious to know how well that works.
I haven't tried that. It would make sense. It's basically, it's like a dehydrator, more or less, is the effect that you're going to get.
I haven't seen
I would
that.
imagine that process is probably slow, though.
Yeah, I would. Well, from what I was reading, it was like you got to leave it there for at least like a day and a half, something like that. I'm like, well, who's got that kind of time?
Yeah, it's cheaper.
It is cheaper.
I could see somebody making one of those and putting an LED bulb on it.
Gotta be incandescent, yes.
No,
I
there's
wonder if you
the
could get like a
different
reptile.
support material. That stuff you want to keep it in a dry box even while you're printing. So that is a separate category. And off
What
the top
type of
my
material was that, Richard?
the support materials that you can use for
PVA and stuff.
dissolvables, yeah. Those are very sensitive to the moisture. So
Reminds me, I just opened the back of that up and I left it out. I'm probably already doomed, huh?
Actually, I haven't had any
right now.
I haven't had any experience yet with PVA. Now that Simplify 3D has the interface layers where you don't have to print all PVA, I might finally invest in a spool of it. But man, before I'm like, it's just way cheaper and easier to use PLA for my supports.
I'm really interested to try out that
4.0. Yeah, it looks like a very nice feature.
Yeah.
I haven't had a single chance to mess with the version 4 yet. I just downloaded it because I got the update. I've just not had a chance to really do much of anything 3D printing in the last month and a half now. it's getting really depressing, actually. I need to like
Why is that?
just circumstances. I mean, like I moved.
Like your circumstances or 3D printing circumstances?
my circumstances.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's because we moved to a new house, and I got the printer set up like one of the first things, and you know the honey-do list started coming in real quick once we started finding things in the new house that needed to be done, and then my car decided to go kaput, so I had to get rid of the Escape and go buy a new car, and then my grandmother passed away last Saturday, so this week's been a whirlwind of just craziness.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, and so it's just been, you know, just one thing after another, and you just can't. I just can't get caught up and down there. I've been wanting to get my shelving up, and my table all set up, and my video equipment set up, and make some videos.
Man,
But,
join the club. I got like 20 half projects in process right now, and I can't seem to focus on any one of them, it seems.
Yeah, I've got this filament series that I think for the last 3 months, I've had manufacturers sending me filaments to, you know, do this series that just goes through and tests all the filaments to find the perfect print settings for each one in their brand. And I've just got all this on the shelf. I just look at it from time to time. And I'm like, I need to get to that. I need to do that. And then I realize, but I also have a leaky roof. I need to do that first.
You gotta
Well, what do they say?
patches.
Happy wife, happy life. Keep the wife happy first, and then you survive long enough to do the rest.
Yeah. I mean, I'm out in my sunroom right now. I don't know who the heck built this thing, but whoever built this doesn't know how to build things. So
No, Mike, you need to take all
That's
that.
what you want to say right after buying a house.
Just waiting for a board to like fall down on him or something.
This was an
Take that
add-on.
filament and bring yourself some new shingles.
Yeah, some nice wood
It's
fill,
the-
perhaps.
It's not the shingles, it's the pitch of the roof. They decided it's a semi-flat roof on just this add-on edition, which used to be just a patio. And they decided to enclose it and make it this lovely sunroom, and it's really nice out here. But the problem is that the roof isn't pitched enough for regular roofing tile, but that's what they put on it. And so now I've got a dip that I'm staring at a dip.
Have you been through a winter in this house yet?
Not yet.
So-
I'm afraid to.
You're gonna see what happens there. When you said low pitch, man, that just made me cringe.
Yeah, with 12 inches of snow coming in, I'm not sure if there's going to be a roof left. You know, if it comes in the winter. But we're going to get some kind of that, you know, that the roofing that is on a roll that looks like regular roofing, but it's a roll. It's a continuous piece. We're going to put that on so it actually will drain off of this freaking roof.
Like a bitumen, like what they do flat roof with, and then get up there with like
Yeah,
the car and stuff.
Except,
Yeah.
but not the bright white and not the black. It's like it has a pattern to it, so it looks like regular tile, but it is a single piece, so there's no seams.
All right. You know, has anybody?
Yeah.
Sorry to jump back to the Simplify 3D 4.0. Has anyone here so far had any chance to play with it? It sounded like we had a couple Simplify 3D people, a couple Cura people. Anybody?
I
I've just done
downloaded
the
it, I
basics
opened
with
it, but that was
4.0.
about it.
I've done a couple of slices. When I took apart my extruder the last time, I damaged the PTFE tube, thought I had it fixed, but the last tube I got, my cat got to it before I could. I have new tube in my hand, just took it out of the box during this show. Cat's not getting this. I'll be doing some slicing within the 4.0 and then seeing how that turns out. As I mentioned, with the transition between processes, I can see making use a lot of that with the various wood fills that I have. So that's one feature I'm looking forward to playing with.
I'll say I did play with it. I did a couple slices on it, and coming from the software development world myself, I got to say one of my favorite things just off the top of my head is the fact that they did not dramatically revamp the UI. Like everything is still like where you would expect it to be. You saw some incremental stuff. It was pretty, you know, pretty intuitive where some of the new features were added. So I'm looking forward to diving a little bit deeper. I wasn't scared off completely. It was nice to be able to get in there and just run a quick slice after doing the upgrade and not feel like I was having to relearn anything, which I would hope.
I completely agree with that. And that's one of the reasons, you know, I like it is it feels so natural to be doing everything. And yes, with 4.0, it's just, okay, there's a few things that are added on here. Well, quite a few things by the looks of it. But yeah, you're not relearning a package. So I'm looking forward to going through it, seeing what it can do. Yeah, they've added some nice features. So,
has anybody seen like an actual definitive change log for Simplify 3D 4.0? I've seen like you go to their website and it says the new Simplify 3D 4.0, but it only lists like 6 things. Like, I'm one of the guys, I like to sit down and look at the change log and see like everything. Like, what did you tweak as well?
And every little bug fix.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and the preliminary reviews coming in from, you know, some of the, you know, players in the community were lackluster, I would say. You know, like Jabman seems, he's like, this is not a 4.0. This is like a 3.2, and you know, he was still complaining about you know, some things still not being fixed. And so, you know, I think it was nice to see some of these new things and what they're focusing on, but I think there was a lot of hope that they were going to go a little bit further, and I haven't vetted it myself enough to, you know, make a statement around that, but I was a little disappointed that was kind of the first thing coming out of people's mouths about it.
yeah, I agree.
They add the
Justin's
ability to.
comment right away was the issues that he's been having with the slices have not changed with 4.0.
Oh. Did they add the ability to pause the print to do filament changes yet without having to get in and add the toolhead change in the in their post-process code?
You know what? I'm not sure.
I'm not either, and that didn't jump out at me when I was looking at it. So, but I don't feel like I can say for sure. I'm looking at the website right now.
I mean, that's like one of the biggest things people have been yelling about at Simplify 3D was like, hey, Cura has a plugin where it automatically injects, you know, at a certain Z height. And then,
it's like cruise control. You just take it to the layer, say right there, done.
Yeah, that's exactly. You know, and that seems like such a simple thing that can be integrated, and every other free slicer is doing it. When Simplify 3D, I don't know if you guys are familiar with how you add in the pause, but it's convoluted as crap.
Oh yeah, it's a royal pain.
Yeah, it's easier to open up the G-code after you generate it and then add the pause in manually at the layer you want.
The only thing I have noticed is like the typical @pause command. My Folgertech Delta running or Castle running Marlin will respond to the @pause. My Folgertech or my FlashForge will not respond to a pause command if I do it through my start and stop G-code in Simplify 3D, and then do the multiple processes and all that stuff. That's the only way it'll listen to the pause command, is if I manually like tell it, you know what, stop, go to this position, hold there, wait until I tell you to resume, and then go, or wait there for X number of minutes.
Well, that's how I've always done it. I have a pre-written script that I keep in a notepad file, and basically I just copy that and paste it at the layer start, and then adjust the numbers, you know, to the proper Z height and the proper YX return. But yeah, that's all it does, is it stops the print, parks the head at home, you change it out, you press the home button, or you press your control button again, and it just pops right back into. Oh, there it goes.
Hold on, now we're doing. Oh man! Now you get to see how the sausage is made. Look at this.
Through the capture card.
What are you streaming through?
I'm pushing through my Canon M6. It's actually like a little mirrorless SLR that I've got running through a capture. But the webcam on my laptop is pretty crummy, so
Mine doesn't even have a webcam. I'm going through my my
Your phone.
iPad.
yeah.
Um,
Which is nice if you
But
want to
yeah,
be mobile and show people your basement and stuff like that. I think,
Speaking of which, I'll be right
Tourist
back, guys. I got to find some power because I'm about to die. I'll be back.
Hey,
you need power.
It's pretty
Oh, the
extreme when
device.
he runs out of power and then he dies.
You know, Richard, you mentioned something when you were talking about PTFE tube that reminded me. I picked up some different tube. Hold on, I'm gonna grab it real quick. I want to show you guys this. So I totally like hacking stuff and trying out different things just for no other reason than I'm crazy like that. But I found this stuff called FEP, which is not, you know, the standard PTFE, but it does come in. Let's see here. That might be tough to show. It does come in, you know, the 2x4, 2 millimeter interdimension for people that are running 175. But it's got way better optical clarity. And I'm just a little, this is stupid. You know, most people probably don't even care, but I always hate that. Like if I want to see the color I'm running, or if I forget what I'd loaded into one of my printers or whatever, I just wanted a little bit more visibility. So I've been kind of testing this thing out to see if, you know, the loss in friction, or it's a little higher friction really, but over the runs that we're talking about, it doesn't seem to matter. And I don't know, it just makes me happy being able to see the filament like going in to the printer and stuff. And if I have a break, it's a lot easier to tell or any of that stuff too. So I ordered some of that to see if there was any interest. Plus, I'm working on a clear container, and that seemed to dovetail in well with, like, I want to see the spool. I want to see the filament on the spool as it's coming out into the feed tube. And so something I'm working on.
oh, this one, I'm using this on a Prusa MK2S, so it's direct drive. I don't have the multi-material on there. So, yeah, for visibility, all you would have would be about 2 millimeters.
Right.
Everything else is inside the brain dead. Come on.
The extruder, the assembly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heat sink. That's the word I was looking for. Heat sink.
So you're just talking about the little piece at the end that just feeds.
Yeah. For, you know, for out of this, I'm using what, so much.
Yeah, in which case you want that PTFE because the temperature, like this stuff's only good to like 230 or something. That PTFE is a little bit higher. Yeah, but I'm running it on my Delta, and you know, that's got about a meter length on it, and I don't know, it's aesthetic, but it's fun.
Well, the folks over at Protopasta talked about. And I've actually heard a little bit more from other places, getting to the point where we're no longer using filament, but we're using the beads pretty much like they get them. And you're using primary colors, and you just do a mix of those beads to get the color you want. Now, you don't get your exotics out of that, but I'd love that day where, yeah, I just have a few bins of the actual raw pellets that are going in to my printer.
Was it the CNC, that part daddy, where it's like the giant beast, and it like needed something like that to actually like feed it?
Put in your 20 kilogram bag sort of thing into the hopper.
They use a shop vac to suck it out of giant trash cans. There's a shop vac attached to the top of the print head, and they suck the beads out of the bag. The hot end on the part daddy is actually an injection mold heater. So like the beads are funneling in there, and it's actually melting. It's crazy how they built that thing. I love it.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. I'm hoping to be able to make it up to New York Maker Faire and get to see it up there this year.
It's a loud sucker when it starts sucking beads, though. Just a heads up.
I bet. I work doing HVAC work for my profession. We work at Sonico, which is a company that makes caulk tubes. And that's exactly how they make their caulk tubes. They literally have trains pull up to the building, drop the cars off, full of nothing but pellets. I'm not sure what type of plastic they are. I've never really looked, but it's the exact same thing. All you hear is this big hopper start up. It sounds like if you've ever heard of dust extractor for a big warehouse, that's what it sounds like. But instead of extracting air, it's sucking these beads up, and you hear them shooting down through the factory and the piping. It sounds like it's pouring down rain. It's kind of the coolest thing.
I'm interested in hearing how I'm going to set things up, because this is my train room, so I have train stuff all over the place. Now I'm adding this one printer here and probably looking at another printer that'll go in the other room. But, you know, we talked about file management, we talked about filament storage. Yeah, it's just getting into organizing all this stuff. And then there's the stuff you print that tends to build up as well. So, yeah. And we haven't thrown out any of our used filament, all the little extras, failed prints and that, all that's in storage too. And hopefully we can do that at some point. So 3D printing, yeah, it adds up to the amount of stuff you have around the house.
Yeah, I have a whole handful of calibration cubes here that I just can't bring myself to throw away, even though I don't need them. There's got to be a use for them somewhere, right?
There's the bin of death. This is just PLA too. I was hoping to get my compost. I'm trying to make like an industrial like compost. I live out on some land, and there's a lot of people with horses and stuff around here, so get some hardcore composting going and see if I can really break down PLA, you know, the way that they claim it can be done. But until I do it myself and see, we'll see. But either that, or I'm going to have to kick the can down the road and just get a bigger bucket to put stuff in, because I can't bear to just throw it away.
Well, same here. I was thinking of making something that is more brick shape that you can heat up to 200, 250 C and press all this stuff into a brick. And then
I like that.
brick can go into the deck or what have you.
Like make it look like a gold bar, but it's plastic, and then you can just spray paint them and make prop gold bars or something out of them.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. It might be a really good idea for like patio paver stones. Be kind of cool.
There you go.
There we go.
If you want it like warping in the sun as it sits out there, I imagine.
Well, you know,
but I like where your head's at. Like, finding
we'll have to get a Kickstarter going, and Dustin can review the Kickstarter, but we'll get a product out there.
2 weeks ago, you know, when we talked about the PLA being outside, I took that and kind of ran with it. I printed out 6 of the tree frogs in PLA, and they have been outside in the Florida weather now for a week, and there is no effect to them whatsoever. They look exactly like when I printed them. So I don't know if outside weather, even here in Florida, if it's even going to affect it. I mean, I was hoping I was going to go out and the toes would be all curled up, and you know the eyeball would be melted down. Nothing. They look exactly like when I printed them.
Maybe it was because of the rain.
Yeah, it has rained quite a bit, but.
Well, we watched the video from the fellow that's been going around patching sidewalks and things like that. Well, I'm building a new patio here, and I'm putting in bricks, but I have the round cement post in the middle of it. And so I've looked at that, and yeah, I'm going to print something to fit into those areas once I'm done. And it's actually, you know, going to be covered in, so it won't be exposed to the UV. So, yeah. That looked like a fun project. And I'm doing the pictures. It's more practice with Agisoft. So.
Well, there's a cautionary tale here in PLA and its effects outdoors. Does anybody recognize what this thing is? I wouldn't expect you to, but if you've been paying attention, the printer belt by PrinterBot, I was down there this week, and Brooke was nice enough to let me have one of the first test things they had come out there. And of course, I left it out in the truck, and by the time I had gotten home, it had done this. So I'm hoping to put a heat gun to it and maybe bring it back to life somehow and do some sort of Excalibur sword in the stone thing. But obviously, in this case, I mean, this thing was hollow and a lot more subject to temperatures being inside of a car than say it might be exposed to just out in the open.
Yeah, I was going to say it gets quite a bit hotter inside the car.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of those stories of people making, dash trim and whatever in PLA, and it sags. And I think it was Angus at Makers Muse did a good video about putting parts in a hot car. So
yeah,
and
that's a good way to hit your plastic temp pretty quickly.
If you don't mind me asking, Ripcord, where are you?
Yeah, I live in Auburn, California, so it's in the foothills on the way up to Lake Tahoe. If you were to head from the Bay Area to like North Shore, Lake Tahoe along Highway 80, which winds all the way out to the East Coast, probably up by Matt and where some other people are.
Yeah, so it's pretty warm where you are.
It's been pushing hundreds most days, 90s, hundreds throughout the summer here.
Yeah, I could definitely see that causing some issues with PLA in the car at 100 degrees outside.
It wasn't even that long, man. I was so bummed. I was like, I should know better too. Like I've heard enough stories. I've seen enough of it. But whatever. We'll just have to go back and print another one.
Yeah. You can go in and anneal some of these things. And who was it? Was it Angus who found out that when he did that, the best results he got was actually PLA after he'd baked it in the oven for an hour at 100?
Like a specific high temp PLA, like designed for annealing, or just plain?
No, it was regular off the shelf PLA, I believe.
I want to try that.
He went, no, this isn't supposed to be the way it works. But for his test, that was how it came out. So it's something to replicate.
That's why I like that.
My brother actually did that. My brother did that with regular PLA. He has some clips, like a sunglass clip that he printed for in his car. One day he came out from work and the clip was laying on the floor with no sunglasses, no nothing, just the weight of the clip. So then he started doing his checking on annealing PLA, HT PLA and stuff, and he ordered some of the V3 HT PLA from Protopasta time. He ended up taking that exact same clip, stuck it in the oven, heated it up, reshaped it, and then let it cool down in the oven slowly. And he has yet to actually reprint it in HT PLA. It's held up perfectly fine all summer long now here in PA, hitting we've had a couple 100-degree days, but mostly like 95, 98, something like that.
If it's in the vehicle, it's a whole lot hotter than that. So
definitely. I mean, it's nothing for a vehicle in the summertime to average 120, 130 around here on an 80, 90-degree day easily.
How long did he keep it in the oven for? Do you know?
I don't know the specifics on what he did with it. I'm planning to do a series here at some point where I'm going to take sort of like Tom did and test a couple of different ones, but I'm also building a hydraulic press that I want to test I'll be able to test how many PSI it takes or how many pounds a piece can hold up to before it snaps like that. So I'm working on building the press right now to do it. And then I'll start recording a video on that one. Because I really want to know. I've got some HT PLA from Protopasta. PLA. It would be nice to know how it holds up.
Yeah. Your audio seemed to drop quite a bit there, Matt. So don't know what changed.
Internet connection.
So one thing, talking about hot cars and filament. So you know those the fidget spinners that I made out of the metal fill. Like I made one out of copper. Did I do one out of copper? Yeah, I did one out of copper fill, stainless steel fill, and bronze fill. I left the stainless fill and the bronze fill fidget spinners in my car, and so I don't know how to explain it. So you have the handles that you close your car door with, and I had one of them in there. It was a stainless one, and one of the sides actually drooped over the handle from the heat in the car, and the bearing just fell out. So as far as the metal filaments go, I think they may be a little bit more susceptible to that, just because there's metal in them, and metal absorbs heat and retains heat.
especially brass and copper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it was bronze. It was bronze that was in there.
Yeah,
The bronze didn't do
I think
too
it's still
bad. I was able to.
close in the same as far as heat transfer.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're coming up on that midnight mark here on the East Coast, the 2-hour mark. So if we want to go through and do our quick outros, and then this can go wherever it wants to do. And I'm just going to go right in order across my screen. So that's you, Joe Mike. You get to outro first, sir.
Oh. Crud. Like I said earlier, I don't really have much going on right now other than trying to catch up with life. The filament series will hopefully start shooting. I'm hoping next month. Praying it's next month. Yeah. I did hit. So I haven't posted a video in like a month and a half, maybe even longer. But my channel hit 5,000 subs this week, which is a pretty cool milestone.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I haven't done jack squat, and I noticed it hit 5,000. I'm like, huh. Apparently, someone's out there still watching these things. So
Yeah, I've actually posted a couple of your videos to the Facebook groups for people. So,
well, I appreciate that for sure. I do get lots of comments still on the videos, especially the Octoprint series ones. So I'm trying to catch back up with those and help answer questions and stuff like that. It's just I got promoted at work to the boss, and so now I don't have a whole lot of time. I used to really like slack off at work, as bad as that sounds. I would do a lot of my YouTube commenting and Twitter stuff while I was at work, and now that I actually have to like be responsible for people and do work, I'm like, well, now I got to find other times to do all this stuff.
Sounds like a sysadmin to me. Sounds familiar. I do the same thing.
Yeah. Well, I got promoted from sysadmin to straight up IT manager. So now I've got sys server network and everything underneath. So I'm going a little crazy at the moment. But yeah, that's all I got.
all right, that takes us over to you, Matt.
We'll see if my connection keeps up with me here. Real quick, Glenn, if you want to make me a mod in the chat, I'll start posting everybody's links as they're doing their outro to their YouTube channels. So I'm Matt. You guys can find me on How I Do It, youtube.com/howIdo it. My channel primarily has been 3D printing, but most recent video was a project with PVC piping, making a spray bar for my daughters for the summertime to beat the summer heat. I'm a generalist. I'm a maker. I'm a generalist. My interest is in things that I don't understand. So when I find something new that I don't understand, I like to do my research on it until I understand things better. And that definitely goes for different trades and things like that. I do metalworking, woodworking, electronics, 3D printing. I do it all. So here in the next couple of weeks, I'm hoping to get back to doing my vlogs on my channel at a regular basis, so that there is something weekly on my channel. Like Joe Mike said, things are hectic at work right now, so it's been I'm in the heating and air conditioning business, so busy, but I hope to get some more content out for you guys. You can find me on Twitter at Country Cowboy, and on Instagram Matthew Flinchball. And I know a few people have found me on Facebook. Just so you guys know, Facebook I try to keep more on the personal side, so you won't see me on there too much. I do hover in the 3D printing communities and some of the printer communities, but I don't post a whole lot in there. So I am.
All right, thanks, Matt. And Repcord. And if you'll give us your first name, I feel weird calling you Repcord, unless that is your first name.
Yeah, no, it's fine. So my given name is Alan Puccinelli, but I don't go by Alan. Everybody calls me Pooch because when you have a name like Puccinelli, it's inevitable. So I just own that. But everybody here knows me as Repcord, which is totally fine too. So you can call me anything but late for dinner, as they always say. But Pooch, did we jump over Richard though? You want me to go now, or maybe your order of who's in line?
I'm just going in the order and at the bottom of my screen. So
okay, Richard's between. I guess I have a different order. Anyway, so I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of background story now. I'm kind of being reborn in the space. I've revived my old YouTube channel, and I'm really excited to start getting some more content. I've got a bunch of stuff in the can that still needs editing, which, as we all know, takes some time. But I would say if I'm going to pick one thing that I'm excited about right now, it's the I've been really lucky to get involved with PrinterBot and their Adopt-a-Bot program, and I'm really excited to be doing some evangelism for them. I've actually got a Simple Pro in pieces right here, and I've got a couple more in the other room. If you're not familiar with that, you should definitely check out the PrinterBot site, PrinterBot Live and streams. He's been talking about that, but basically Brooke really wants, well, one, this was born of he wanted to clean out his warehouse. But secondly, you know, he's always been tied into education, and I've been really passionate about that space too. I have 3 young kids, and I've been excited to get more involved with their school as well. And so the Adopt-a-Bot program, starting with what PrinterBot's doing, is he's putting together a bunch of beta units and returns and things that needed servicing, and we're getting them out to people, hopefully to advocate and be the liaison to bring this to a school. So we all know that just throwing equipment at a school is not what does it. It's you know, it's the community, it's the people behind it that's really helpful to the teachers in the community, because I can't tell you how many teachers I've talked to where they're like, oh yeah, we got 5 3D printers, but they're all broken and in a closet somewhere, and it just kills me, right? I'm like, there's no doubt how like compelling this is to you watch a student watch these things. I get fired up about it. So anyway, the idea is we want to get he sold out of all of the ones he was offering like within an hour, which isn't surprising, because for $40 to get anything from PrinterBot is a smoking deal, even if it doesn't print and you have to, like, you know, do some wiring. But hopefully it's going to get people inspired to think about what printers they have. Like I've got, you know, 3 here right now, and I can think of, you know, I could probably get together another printer or 2 that I'd be willing to donate as well. So, you know, really trying to get some excitement around that, and I'll be posting some videos hopefully around it in the near future, and you know, hope we can talk about it more. I think it's the future. I'm really excited about it. Obviously, you know, my kids are into it. We see, you know, young kids staying up till midnight to talk about this kind of stuff as well. So yeah, Xander. So yeah, that's it. I've got a lot of other stuff going on, but I'm going to cut it there because I've already taken more than my fair share.
No, that's pretty awesome, and we probably should have made you go last, you know, because you know, now we got Richard and I. How are we going to live up to that? So
yeah, that's a hard level to get up to. I'm Richard.
Thunder, sorry.
I have the Zadim channel. You can find me at Zadim on YouTube. I'm Zadim17 on Twitter. I've started doing some streaming on Twitch. I chat about 3D printing, but I'm actually playing Minecraft while I do that. So I'm in summer mode here. It's just enjoying the heat and sitting back and relaxing and not doing a whole lot. But I did today move this printer into here, and I'll be getting it together. I got to work out. I noticed where the printer has to be, I don't have a camera set up there, so I'll be working on that. I stream live every Wednesday at 10 a.m. and I try to get a blog out, no matter how short, but at least get something out every Sunday. So on Facebook, Zadim17, as I said, don't do much on there, but you can find me over on 3D Printing for Model Trains.
All right, Richard, and I guess that that leaves us. And I'm Glenn.
I'm Xander.
And together we're Fun King 3D. You have no idea how many times we say that. We can be found at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all of it at Fun King 3D. All together, no spaces in that, but our actual name has spaces. So if you're doing searches, put the spaces in there, or some bad things might come up. So as far as projects that we're working on right now, again, you know, still being relatively new to the whole 3D printing thing, we don't have any super amazing. Oh, Joel just popped into the chat. Hey, Joel. He should really pop into our video instead of the chat, but that's cool. And Nilla, if you're still listening, Xander is still upset that you didn't come in. He's waiting for you to come in. But right now, my biggest project that I'm working on is all the parts and stuff to turn my ANET A8 into the AM8. I got the aluminum framing for it today actually came. So that's my big project that I'm working on. Xander's still working on Tinkercad. You want to go ahead and tell the latecomers about your rocket again?
I designed and printed this on Tinkercad. You gotta bring that up to the camera. And I guess last time Zidim, I don't even know anymore.
You got it, Zidim.
Okay. Asked me if I designed and printed anything, and I said I would, and here it is.
Let's see that again up close. That looks awesome. Nice work, Xander.
Yeah, your Tinkercad skills have officially surpassed mine.
I'm gonna lock that just so that.
Look at the nozzle on that. Look at that. I love that. Good detail. That's all solo. That's all Xander.
Yeah, I want to tell the official story on it because I love my boy a lot, and he has this problem where he takes things to a level where he's just okay with it and he'll let it coast. But I'm wired to always want to go a little bit better. I don't want to just live with this. I know I can make it a little better. So he did sit down and create a rocket that had some design issues. It wouldn't have printed. So I encouraged him to go back and do it again. And he was like, no, that's good enough. I'm done. And he left. And I sat down with Tinkercad and drew a similar rocket fairly quickly. And then he came up and he seen it. And so I had to give him, I don't know if you guys have ever dealt with threes in Tinkercad, but Tinkercad does not handle it very well as far as centering. So we had to actually do 6 feet and then delete 3 later to get it to work. So as far as that portion goes, I did help out, but I never touched it. That was, I mean, I didn't do any of the physical design. That was all him. So I stopped at the encouragement.
Comments in the chat.
Yeah, Xander, hopefully you're reading the chat there.
I was looking
Yeah,
at
Joel wants to G-max it. You should get that STL to
That's
Joel.
awesome, Rocket. If you don't mind, can I
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God, Joel, I will absolutely send that to you. Xander would spin out of control. I know you guys already know. I know you guys already know how amazing Joel is as a human being. He just, I don't know, just something about that man. And now, you know, I mean, he's listening, so I'm gonna pretend like he's not listening, and I'm like not talking to him. I'm just talking to you guys. But I reached out to Joel via email and just asked him if he could give me some ideas on how to bump up our following on Facebook or on YouTube, because we wanted to hit that 100 mark. And without being asked, I didn't ask him. I just wanted some pointers. He Facebooked it and sent people to us. And we went from 33 subscribers to like 80 subscribers over the weekend. It was absolutely amazing. So I know you're listening, Joel. Yeah, haha, you stop. You really are an amazing human. I've seen some of the things that you've posted. I see what you say about people and how you treat people, and you truly are an amazing man, and you have I'm what's the word I'm looking for? Charisma. You have fantastic charisma. So, all right, enough pumping up Joel. He's got a big head now to go with that amazing hair. And Joel, I want you to know I would have that same hairstyle. But otherwise, that's what we've got going on. No awesome things like, you know, getting cheap printers for kids at school.
Yeah.
we're just printing stuff for ourselves and trying to bake some frogs in the sun. That's our.
If I had only one superpower right now, it would be to give Joel a high five through this camera.
But you can. You have to go like this.
High five. Virtual high fives count.
Absolutely. So, but you know, I mean, like I told you guys last time. I mean, it was really surreal for us to come in and meet you guys because you were a little bit celebrity-ish, you know. But and no offense to you guys, I love you guys, but Joel's on a whole nother level.
It's like the godfather of 3D printing.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, all of this has really been an eye-opener to me because I never thought that we would ever be.
Joel's offering me a printer.
Well, and then you better talk nicely to him.
It would be impolite to turn down a printer from Joel Telling. Sander.
Say things like, "Oh my God, that would be amazing," and you know, Joel, you just caused this boy to not be able to sleep for like 3 days now. So he was so ramped up after the last one of these chats. It was amazing. So, but yeah, I never thought I would be
the weekend to recover.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
So, and then at the point that I became a YouTuber, I never thought anybody would follow my videos. And now we're, what, 130 some, I don't know, maybe 140 now, which is pretty amazing. So, but it's really been, it's been an honor and a pleasure hanging out with you guys. I love it.
One thing I didn't mention was we do have a Facebook page for the Friday Night Hangout. So F3DPH on Facebook. So we do these every other week. So if you want to find out who's hosting the next one, that's one place to keep tabs on what we're doing. We also have a Twitter account.
And right now, I was in talks with Nolan C. 3D Printworks about possibly hosting the next stream 10th of August, I believe it is. Here.
Matt, your audio is getting really bad. You're going to have to talk a little louder.
I was saying, I was talking to Nolan C. 3D Printworks about hosting the next stream, which is going to be August 11th at 10 p.m. Eastern.
So that's August 11, 10 p.m.
Yep.
Awesome. Matt, I'm afraid for you, buddy. It looks like something's just going to come out of the darkness and snatch you. It's like I swear you got the Blair Witch Project thing going on right there, right now.
Yeah. Actually, with that said, I'm going to probably pack things up because I am sitting outside in the rain. Seems like my connection wants to drop out on me.
Well, I think you're really dedicated to be doing this while you're camping.
Well, I haven't missed one yet since we started it, so I figure if I'm organizing it, I might as well be here, right?
If you're really dedicated, next time you bring a printer with you and an inverter.
I have a printer with me.
Yeah.
He did. Yeah, he brought it.
Did?
You brought it right now. It's right over here in the back of my Explorer right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So, hey, Glenn and Xander, thanks for hosting tonight. I'll catch everybody in 2 weeks. And keep an eye out on Facebook at the group. Keep an eye on Twitter at F3DPCH for future updates. And typically by Thursday, we'll be announcing who's going to be hosting and where you can find it by Thursday evening, the day before the stream. We found that if we start the stream, schedule it too soon in advance, the Hangout links change and it breaks everything, which leads us into chaos when we first go to get started. So,
which must have been what happened tonight. I don't know if that's what it was, but that's what we're going to blame it on.
We'll call it first time jitters.
Yeah. Hey, we still got on.
Yep, absolutely. We got it all straightened out, and we got an awesome crowd sitting behind us waiting for us to work out all the bugs. So I'm going to hit the road, guys, and pack my stuff up. But thanks, everybody, for joining the stream. Thanks, everybody in the chat. And I'll see you guys back here in 2 weeks.
Thanks, Matt.
Awesome, man.
Take care, Matt.
I've got to head out too because my iPad and my laptop are about to just shut down from lack of battery. So thanks. It was good to meet you, man. I really appreciate you hosting. And hopefully you can hop on and hopefully we can get more regular again with this. So, and Keith, again, I don't think I've talked to you in person either. Have I?
No.
Who?
Keith? Me? Who? No?
Yeah.
Coach.
No, I'm Pooch.
Pooch.
Coach.
I'm not sure where you got Keith.
I don't know either.
Oh, good though. Yeah, no,
So-
awesome chatting with you too. I'm like, who's
I'm
he talking to?
super
I'm like, I
good
don't
with
see
names.
Keith on there. Not me.
You look like a Keith.
I've
Okay,
never
well-
been told I look like a Keith before, but I'll remember that. Awesome, dude. Well, hey, now good luck with that roof, huh? Get that.
Yeah.
You know, now's the time to be working on the roof when it's not raining and snowing, buddy.
Yeah. I have a feeling that that's going to be next week or this upcoming week. So lots of
Get
fun
up there
work
with the
ahead.
hot mom.
I just
Okay.
want you guys to know that Xander is over here absolutely just freaking out, spinning out of control.
I think he broke me.
Just kidding. Kidding. He's got the
that's great.
fever. He's got the toe-telling fever now.
Now, I want you to know that Joel could take like a shoebox and write a printer name on it and send it to him. He's not going to care. I mean, he is just absolutely spinning out of control.
Printer box.
Yeah, not printer bot, printer box.
Yeah. And you just put a print inside of it, and yeah, perfect.
Well, the next thing you need is a little bit of scenery from Nilla. Polish that off.
You know what we need is for Nilla to show up for one of these videos.
He's
More than
usually
a couple.
hosting, isn't he? He was on chat earlier.
Yeah, he
he
was.
in chat.
Yeah, we haven't seen much of him lately, but also how old's the baby? What, we're in a month old now? Something like
Yeah,
that.
that'll do it. That'll do
Yeah.
it. There, he's on chat. He says he's sorry.
Yeah. Oh, well.
We'll catch
Young
him
family.
next time, hopefully.
Yeah.
I say, it looks like you got a pretty good setup there, though, guys. I'm digging. I feel like you're looking way more organized than I feel like I am. I have to clean like every day, and I still don't even put a dent in it.
All right, so you want to know the truth to it? I'll put the truth out there in front of all these people. I am
It's a
horrible at
backdrop.
organizing.
Okay.
It's all fake. It's all. I just
Those aren't real tools.
stuff. Yeah, they're not even really screwdrivers and stuff. No, literally, my office was chaos before this YouTube thing started.
So
the desk was here. This was custom built.
Custom.
But I had to come in and bulldoze this whole area, put up that pegboard. I didn't even have trim around this window. I had to trim this window and put up these blinds to have a decent backdrop for the YouTube. So yes, this is a movie set.
It took a YouTube channel to get you. Or, hey, whatever it takes, right? I bet the missus was happy about that.
Absolutely, except for none of the other windows in the house have trim around them yet.
I was gonna say, if she was smart, she'd start saying like, you know what, you should probably shoot your videos in here. And we can, do some, a little more work over here. She's probably not watching. I hope for your sake.
No, she's asleep. But
Yeah.
but it does work out because every time right before we shoot a video or before we do one of these, I have to go through and clean my office. So and then this desk that we sit at, this is actually just it's a false piece that we set here just for this.
Tell them
My
tell
workspace.
them how the sausage is
out.
made, man.
So, well, this is where I work. I work from home. So I have to, before we shoot, I have to like put in all of this stuff and make it all fancy and
Smoke and
and then,
mirrors.
and then tear it all
Don't do
down.
it on my account. I like the authenticity of a truly chaotic makerspace.
So, well, I mean, you can see I got stuff because I do actually work in this space, but I mean, it gets a little bit crazy sometimes. So, but yeah, all my stuff is stuck underneath, and honestly, I'm gonna say I'm gonna say it out loud again. It's this is all Nilla's fault. From watching Nilla's videos and his organization skills, which are amazing.
We see you in the chat.
What does he say?
Noah.
My basement is that way. Every inch of space off screen is complete chaos. Okay, well now I don't feel bad.
Well, here, Dave, if you
It's all
think,
smoke and mirrors.
I think that I managed to get the cameras changed. Here's my workspace. There are a few things in here that I can move around, but it is a disaster area, and I've run out of places to stack things. So we will get there eventually. But yeah, that's my makerspace. That's authentic right there. That's chaos. Building
That's
under
what you want to
construction, drill press.
I'll tell you this. I don't trust anybody who's too organized, like that they're really doing making, So if you want authenticity, you got to mess it up a little bit, Control chaos.
If everything is perfect and all the tools are perfect, and just like I'm a big follower of garagejournal.com, and because I have a big garage detached from the house, and like I go on there for ideas and stuff, and there's people that have their wrenches are perfect in the toolbox and stuff, and they're perfectly chrome and there's no dirt on them. I'm like, do you ever use those? I like my tools used.
Those are props. Xander, what's your room? Is your room pretty clean, or is it pretty messy usually?
Bit of both.
A little bit, yeah. Okay. So the apple doesn't fall far from the tree? Yeah.
Right. He's really good at dirtying it, and then he does a good job of cleaning it up when we make him.
That's good to hear. How old are you? You're like 11, 12?
I'm going to be 11 in September.
Oh, all right.
He'll be 11 in about a month.
Right on. Okay, good on you, man. Well, keep up that good modeling work. That's awesome to see. I want to see some more stuff. Share it so we can see. I tried to get Joel to say like, hey, run that thing on the Gmax. Let's see that thing larger than life, right?
He said he wants to.
Yeah, good. Oh, good. I didn't see the response. I hope he does.
I would always.
That'll be pretty amazing. I mean,
yeah.
Just to send it to him and have him print it, we'll send him into tailspins.
It'll be even better if he does it on video.
Oh man.
This our whole YouTube thing started because I've always been a very DIY, hands-on maker. I mean, I weld, I have a degree in electronics, I do computers, like I built my own house. So I'm very, very hands-on. Xander, unfortunately, hasn't really picked up that gene yet. I know it's in there. We just got to get it activated. And he's very video game oriented, like most kids are today. And so when we started talking about a 3D printer, he was intrigued because he could get stuff. And at the point I said to him, well, if we get a 3D printer, I think we should maybe start a YouTube channel. And then it was just like, he was on board. If we were going to have a YouTube channel, he was on board. So little bits at a time, we're getting him in to learn things and make things. And so.
Well, I'll have to get Biggs on here. So I'm trying to get my son into it. He's a little bit younger than you, Xander. He's going into 2nd grade, and he's going to be 8 this year. But he's getting into it too, and I'm glad to see, such excitement around it because it's a fantastic skill. And even if you don't do manufacturing or printing with it, just having 3D modeling skills and stuff like that you can take that anywhere, man. Good to know.
I like doing this YouTube channel because I get to meet you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, you can work on your audience building. I mean, you're picking up a lot of good stuff. I'm really happy to see you be involved.
Well, it's really kind of cool because he's a 2nd year Weeblo. He's a Weeblo 2 in the Cub Scouts, and one of the things that he needs for his Aero Light to cross over to Boy Scouts is he needed to make a movie, and because he does this, I mean, he's making movies all the time. So that helped him out with his scouts as well.
You have him editing and stuff yet? Have you gotten into any of that, Xander?
No,
Not
you know,
yet.
honestly, I'm just getting into the editing. You know, I played with it a million years ago, but
Sure.
I'm just learning how to do stuff in there, and he's now wanting to get into doing Photoshop. So I guess one step at a time.
Good night, Noah.
Yep.
Good night, Nilla. Thanks for popping in.
Tony there had a great suggestion there for a future topic, and that's just looking at our maker spaces and how we are organized / disorganized. We talked about our file organization and a little bit about filament. But going into some of the tools, the extra tools we use, things like that, I think that we could spend a night on.
I could spend a whole year on that, because I'll let another cat out of the bag. My garage, it's a steel building. It's 4,000 square feet. It's 40.
Killing me.
It's
jealous.
huge. It is the most luxurious building that anybody could ever have. And my wife actually let me build it before we built the house. Mainly because I told her we were going to use it to store the supplies for the house. But I'm very spoiled. But the garage is full from end to end. It's just full of stuff that people have given me that I don't know how to deal with. So I'm really not an organized person. Again, this is all just for you guys.
It sounded like, well, if you're hoarding G-code files, it's probably not surprising you're hoarding other stuff in your garage too.
No. We don't use the H word. There's a difference between hoarding and collecting. I'm a collector, because the difference between being a hoarder and a collector is your quality of life, and my quality of life is fantastic. So that
because
makes
you have a 4,000 square foot garage to stick all your stuff in until that fills up, right?
Well, and what's sad is I have one bay. I have one bay it's 40 by 20. Each bay is 20 feet. I have one bay that I work in, which I have an automotive lift and everything, but all the rest of it is just stuff stored. So, well, that's actually how we got into 3D printing. I went through the garage. I was cleaning the garage, and I just started throwing stuff on that Let Go app, and I sold like $1,600 or $1,700 worth of stuff in a week and a half. So that's how I bought my Prusa.
I thought you were going to tell me you went out there and you discovered all the parts you needed to actually make a 3D printer.
That could actually happen.
Found printer. That would be something.
Boy, I've put too much of my life out in front of everybody tonight, haven't I?
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Monday or Tuesday, not too sure which day it's going to do it. The carpenter's coming over. He's the fire chief for one of the departments I'm on. And we're looking at my backyard, and I'm going to be building a small workshop back there. Because right now I have a drill press in my kitchen. So I just have no other place to put it. So,
Yes.
Yeah, it's a bachelor's house. Yeah. So we're building a workshop. It's going to have a little bit of heat in there. It's not going to be kept at room temperature year round, but I don't want it to freeze in the winter. The roof's going to be set up, hopefully, so I can add a few solar panels to it. But the big thing is that's where I can do all my airbrushing, keep all the chemicals out there, and free up some room in my kitchen and free up some room in here. If I free up that room, I know I'm just going to fill it with other stuff. But anyways, at least I'll have a
your stuff is like a gas tank means to fill the space that you have. So that's always the way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. well, you
drill
saw
press in your kitchen. That is awesome.
You
got to put a picture of that up, because that's just great.
Well, it got even better a few weeks ago. It'll be about a month now, I guess, because I was at a garage sale, and there's this table there. It was narrow. It was at a good height, because I wanted an island in my kitchen. I'm in a very small house, and it's a very old house. But I said, I want something for an island. I've just had one of those plastic fold-out tables in there. So I looked at this table, and it had some drawers on it. It's perfect. And I asked the guy about it, $75. And I said, oh, that's good. And he said, it's a woodworking table. I look at it. Yeah, it has the holes where you put the pegs in. It has the wood vise at the end. So I have a woodworking bench with my drill press in the kitchen. So,
Does that workbench, does it have drawers on the front with a green, like, felty liner in it?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, it
Harbor
came from a
Freight.
U.S. hardware store. I don't know which one.
Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight. I got one of those.
Yeah,
Actually,
it's one of those.
I actually used to work at Harbor Freight.
You have about everything out of it.
It's one of those. That's what I use as a kitchen island. It's perfect.
It's a very nice piece. I mean, I wouldn't try to rebuild an engine on top of it, but they're actually very nice benches.
And they're great. In
That
the
sounds
kitchen.
like a challenge, Richard.
But you have to do it in the kitchen. I actually rebuilt a Volkswagen engine in the kitchen of a duplex that I lived in. It was a rental. We took the sliding glass doors out and pushed the Volkswagen Bug into the kitchen to build it because it was too cold outside.
Oh,
Let me
yeah.
tell you my dream really quick because I'm guessing you guys are itching. I keep seeing Xander yawning. I don't know if you're trying to jump away, but we steal. But I've been working on what I'm calling the shed quarters for about 5 or 6 months now. Slowly, like trying to get out of the house here and out into the converted new workspace. But I also have a toy hauler that I've cleaned out that I'm trying to turn into my mobile 3D printing command center that I'm hoping maybe next summer I can do like a rep court around the country kind of tour and stop off at cool places like say your garage and maybe make some stuff and film it and just move around and bring the family with it. Who knows? You know what I mean? Like I think it'd be a lot of fun.
That'd be pretty cool. That'd be a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, we
Where
just
are
had
you guys?
a mobile makerspace in town, and
You do have
they
one?
were invited. Yeah, it was invited down to the last big maker event down in the States. What was it? San Francisco, San Diego, whatever that one was called. But anyways, because it's the oldest mobile makerspace in North America, and the guys just moved into our region. And so he has 5 3D printers in there, but he has a small CNC machine. He can teach 10 people at a time with it, and it's all in a trailer. And he can be in the camper up front and just take it from community to community. And during the school year, he's just going from school to school to school with it. And
That's
running
totally what I
classes
want to do.
and he's set up for running. He teaches soldering on there. He starts with them having, fine wires and making little leaves, and then up to more complicated items. They had some conductive putty in there, so you could learn how to hook things. If you hook up the battery to each piece and then you take the LEDs and hook in, you can start doing things with it. So it's a great concept to be able to do that. And I've been looking at getting a makerspace going here in our community, and the cost of 1 month rent and that covers a good cost of his setup. His printers are very basic because he got steel frames and they're quite small, but he wants something that'll survive being taken around on the road all the time and being able to take the temperature changes. So it's a great idea. And
you said that's in the Bay Area though? I want to check this out because I go down there all the time.
He was based in Vancouver.
Oh, he was okay. I thought you were saying something.
Yeah, well, no, he went to the Bay Area Maker Fair. He was invited down there because this is the oldest portable makerspace in North America. So he's been at it for quite some time. And he had one of his first 3D printers there. It's not being used, but that's something that was made in a metal shop, basically, out of spare parts. But it's a great concept. And,
I love it.
Be able to pull up to a place and say, you could go to a farmer's market, trade fairs, what have you, be set up there and be 3D printing, show people what you have. You got your own space. All you need is power supply to it. And it's a great idea.
Well, if I do it, it's going to need a really sick paint job on the side. I'll have to figure all that stuff out. But we'll see.
Well, if you want to build things, my dream, I've been accused of looking too much like Red Green. And my voice goes a little bit hoarse from time to time. But when it was brought up, I was going, I could take a door from a K car and get some electric controls for window controls. And they'll, control the access. The piece of glass, you take the window out, put that on some rollers so it can go back and forth. So you got a build platform from the window. Then you take the cigarette lighter out. That becomes your heat block. So you move that on top of there. You can do this whole thing with a K car. So
You got me a K car, really. I mean, that's great. That's great.
You know, it's funny that you say that people say that you look like Red Green. I never put it together, but you really do. That's funny.
Need a picture for
I
comparison.
just have to talk my voice and no, you know, all we do is we take the K car here, and we got to be handy with this. And don't forget the duct tape. We have to have duct tape holding everything here together. So if the women don't find you handsome, at least they can find you handy.
I had to pull up a picture of Red Green for Xander so he'd know who it was. So that's it's pretty funny.
Yeah, I don't have the suspenders for it. I don't have my top hat in here either. I have to move my top hat into this room.
That's pretty funny. All right. So how big of a toy hauler are you playing with?
It's a 28-footer. It's a beast. I mean, it's big. And you know, I just like the idea of roll up, drop the back down. A couple people can come in or whatever. It can be, you know, it can also just be a controlled, you know, studio, like, you know, you're talking about earlier. So I haven't fully, you know, this is like every other idea of mine. It hasn't been fully vetted and it hasn't gotten the blessing of the missus yet either. So
yeah, no, well, I mean, it kind of intrigues me because I have one. When my wife and I decided that we were going to build the house, we needed a place to live. And so we actually bought a toy hauler and parked it here on the property, and we lived in it for like 6 years. And I had a T-shirt company at the time. So the plan was that I was going to put the T-shirt company in the back of that. So that I had somewhere to continue making shirts while we were building the house. And then afterwards we could take the shirt company mobile. Well, then something changed that. And somebody needed a bedroom. And so the T-shirt company got hoisted out to an 18-foot box trailer, and that space became his bedroom. But now all of a sudden you say, you know, like a mobile studio, that would be awesome.
That's the same. Yeah, that's kind of the same thing. We never lived in it. I have 3 kids, and when we came here and built this house, like that would have never flown. So, you know, we rented a house. But my office was the toy hauler for a long time, and then I kind of came in here, and now I'm looking to get back out again, but a little bit bigger space. So hopefully I can feature, maybe do a little video of that build as I, you know, get to it, because it's going to be a pretty cool space. Right now it's shared with the pump house for our well, but it's, you know, it's 10 by 16. It's a little bigger than this.
Glenn, could you make me a moderator and I'll post a link to this space? Sorry to interrupt there.
That was it.
All right. There. See if we get this going, because yeah, I found the link for this, the mobile one.
All right, you should be good to
there
go.
we go. Yeah, we got that. Yeah,
it's giving me a little bit of trouble, but you should be good to go now.
So yeah, there's a link to this fellow's operation, which was a lot of fun. Oh, you talk about your 4,000 square feet and that. My train room in my previous house was just about 600 square feet. This house, I had a garage, and that was in the basement. This house is 900 square feet total, no garage, and a small garden shed out back. So that's why I'm building a workshop. And even the workshop's not going to be very big. So I have a lot of junk too. So I'm really crammed in here. And then when my daughter graduated from college, I said, join me. So she's in here too. What was that?
How big are you gonna build your workshop, Richard?
I find out more next week, because for 100 square feet, I don't need a builder's permit. So I can do a shed like that and fit it in, because I don't have a huge yard either.
Where are you? We get 200 without a benefit of a permit, but that's assuming you don't electrify and all that stuff. So
yeah, this is going to be fully electrified. I need it for the tools. I'm in Creston, BC, so I'm just north of Bonners Ferry.
Okay.
So a long lineup at the border for me, it means there's another car there. So I have a mailbox 10 minutes from the house, sort of thing. So. But yeah, we're in the middle of the mountains. It's glorious here. We have one of the larger freshwater lakes in North America outside of the Great Lakes. So we got salmon in there, great beef around here, and we have vineyards in the area. The cherries just started going on the market right now. So it's a fantastic little community, and it's just a very special microclimate we're in. So because the climate's so nice, one of the things I want to do with this is have a porch on my workshop and double doors, so I can open up the double doors, haul out the saw if I'm doing the saw. I'll have the air going. I have to get probably my surface will end up being in there, because airbrushing my models after I do the printing, like I have the tunnel portals, I haven't airbrushed the tunnel portals that I printed out yet, because I really don't have a good place to airbrush, and I don't want to do it in this room. So that'll be done in that area. So yeah, I just want to make it a useful space, vent it, so when I am doing that, one thing I looked at for finishing some of these prints is Lee Valley, or is it Lee Valley? No, Micro Mart has some miniature sandblasters, or abrasive. It's not really it's a sandblaster, but you're using a different abrasive unit. But you use them for brass models. So I'm wondering how some of our prints would take for finishing for some of this stuff for the models. So something like that I wouldn't want to do in the house, but I'd love to do it in this little workshop.
Sure. And where's Funkin 3D based out of?
We're like in north central Florida.
All right.
The little town that we live in butts up to a huge retirement area. So it's fun to live here 6 months out of the year. And then the other 6 months when all the snowbirds come, you just, kind of like people who live up north, they hide in their basement all winter. Well, winter here, we hide in our house because we don't want to fight all the crowds. I mean, the traffic stuff is horrible here in the wintertime.
Yeah. Man, we're spanning the continent here tonight then.
Yeah. Yeah, we're a fairly high retirement population here as well. So, yeah, it's gotten better with direct deposits, but it used to be pension day.
Pension day.
Get off the sidewalks. Stay away. Because you got the people that are looking over, the steering wheel. That's why I say get off the sidewalks. You don't know where they're steering. But they're out. But at least direct deposits drop that down. So. But we also actually, another thing we have a lot here is we have a very large number of programs for people with life challenges. And for example, we just a block from here, we have a very, very good provincially recognized therapeutic riding program. When you think therapeutic riding, you think kids, but it's actually folks of all ages. The oldest rider is in her 90s, I think, or late 80s. If she ever sees this and I said 90s, she'd probably come down on me. But you have all this. I've looked at some of the things I'm printing. I have problems holding a pen sometimes. So I have designed, I haven't printed any yet, some pen holders that are pen rings. You put on the ring, you put a pen in there, and you can write with your hand like that. So I think those various tools, I want to get my space finished here so I can dedicate myself to printing instead of moving stuff around and fine-tuning printers and things like that. But sure. I'm on one board that deals with this sort of thing. We have a woodworking shop where the people with challenges, they're employed in the woodworking shop. They're making picnic benches and trellises, things like that. So I'd love to add to that 3D printing in some way and moving it into that community. So
that'd be cool. I look forward to hearing an update on it. Hey, I hate to be the one to bounce, but I've got a child I got to get to bed here too, so I'm sure that probably counts for other people as well.
Yeah, this one was actually supposed to duck out at midnight. That was the deal, that he could be here from 2 till
we won't tell Mom, don't worry.
And well, he's so ramped up now because of the whole Joel telling thing, and he might not sleep.
Joel is telling you. about the printer.
That guy's probably just hemorrhaging printers. He gets stuff thrown at him all the time, so he's probably looking for any excuse to move some out of his house so he can live. But that's great, Xander. You're gonna have a good old time. I look forward to seeing what you end up doing with it, and seeing some more modeling out of you too, bud.
Yes, we got to start the modeling. The rockets working out.
I get it. No problem. All right. Well, it was awesome meeting you guys, talking to you, and hopefully we can catch you again on another one of these soon.
That's fantastic. We appreciate you showing up.
All right. Have a good night.
Nice
You too.
Take care.
Good night.
All right, Richard, we're going to duck out too.
Yeah. We started, and we can wrap it up.
It was a good night. I think it went well. There's still a few people watching, and we thank everybody for coming out and for being here and for putting up with our hiccups in the beginning. But overall, I think the stream went well. I hope everybody learned something. I know I did, and we'll do it again in 2 weeks.
Woo!
And at this point, I guess I just hit the stop broadcast button. Is that what ends?
Stop broadcasting. Have a good night, folks.
All right. Good night, Richard.
Night.
Everybody from us here at Fun King 3D, print on.